The County Women Rep Kirinyaga.
Mr. Speaker, it was really hard for Baba to climb the mountain, but it seems even harder for new members to address this House. To the Honorable Aden Duale, congratulations, and to Alice, who I looked up to when I was a young girl who was interested in politics. Alice came this year in my county to solve an issue that had arisen out of the nominations. And I remember her telling me that she did not need to know me. She just needed to do her job. And her job was to ensure that the rightful winner had been declared. So Alice, you're setting the pace for young women like me and the others who are in this parliament in politics. We look forward to you delivering for the people of this nation. I know that oftentimes women are judged collectively. So remember that the standards you set are very important for the rest of us waiting in line. I want to donate the rest of my time to the new members who have not addressed this House yet. Thank you.
You have no time to donate it. So I will give now to the Honorable Kadambi.
Mr. Speaker.
After Kadambi, I'll give Tutu, then we close.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Speaker, let me start by thanking you for giving me this opportunity. I also want to thank God for this day when we are congratulating our great people who we have known in the different capacities. Honorable Duale, you are a mentor to some of us. You encouraged us. You have fought for us as women. I cannot forget an issue recently when we went through nominations of UDA and we won all the members of parliament, Gilgil, Naivasha, and myself. And Mr. Speaker, we had a lot of challenge through the men we had defeated. Honorable Duale, I cannot forget the day you just encouraged us and you said, well, you cannot accept impunity against women. Honorable Alice Wahome, thank you so much. You are our big sister who has brought us together. We cannot forget the journey when you united all the women in the Senate and the National Assembly, purposely to make sure that we were doing something in our respective constituencies and counties. Therefore, our blessings today to all of you, and I know you have taken a very sensitive docket in this country. Honorable Alice Wahome, at least I'm so much excited. You are now the CS for water. The water is a big threat in this country. Our children, our women have really suffered. The pastoralists right now, they are suffering. We are all suffering in this country in relation with water and other docket. I also want to congratulate every CS and say a great thank you to His Excellency the President for giving us the best combination of the CSs.
The Honorable Atandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, there is no doubt that this Parliament has released some of the best to the Cabinet, to the Executive. And Honorable Speaker, Honorable Duale, when we joined the 12th Parliament, was one leader who easily mixed with us and would have breakfast with us in the morning, every morning, and would educate us and teach us about how to operate in this house and in politics. And Honorable Duale is somebody who raised the profile of this house. When Duale was the majority leader in this house, Parliament was respected. And members of the executive came here limping. They respected and they feared this house. And I think I want to thank him for that. And also for his dedication in the service. When I sat in the Finance Committee and we were going through Finance Bill, Duale would take time to come and discuss with us the details of the Finance Bill, despite the fact that he was not a member of that committee. I want to congratulate him for this feat, and I know that he's going to perform. Honorable Speaker, this country has the best investments in military hardware and software. Every year, we appropriate resources to hire and to recruit military personnel. But, Honorable Speaker, this country is also one of the most disrespected. I want to urge Duale that as you take up this position, please ensure that this country is respected. I think it is time Kenya went to war so that our neighbors can respect us. And I know Duale, as a bold leader, is going to ensure that this country is respected. We don't want to see Uganda still harassing our people in Migingo when Duale is the Minister for Defense. Honorable Speaker, Alice Wahome is a bold leader. If you look at the positions Alice Wahome took during the last regime, then you know that.
Member for Tarbo. I'll give you.
Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also congratulate all the members that were appointed as CSS that we have approved today in this House. I want particularly to congratulate Honorable Duale for being appointed as CS, and I want to say he has done a sterling job in this House. I still remember my lowest moment when we were at KICC and Honorable Duale was being removed. I remember sitting behind there and looking at former president and asking myself, does the president know who he is losing? The person who fights for government like it is his own property. Honorable Duale, I wish you the best in your new appointment. Honorable Alice Wahome, you are the pillar of the women in this House. You led the Inua Mama and you made us what we are today. You steered Kenya Kwanza through the Inua Mama brigade, and we went far to raise the bar for the Kenya Kwanza people. Congratulations and wish you well in your new appointment as the CS for water. We know as members of this House that we shall benefit because you will have an ear for each one of us. Thank you so much, and may God bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me that chance.
Member for Mwingi Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. You know, I want to start by congratulating our fellow colleagues who have succeeded to join the executive. And I want to start with Honorable Duale. You know, Honorable Duale, if he does not speak in this house, there is no house that day. That is the way I've known him. And I call him my neighbor. So my neighbor, when you go up there, remember us. You know the conflict we have down there. Please help us. Alice Wahome, we were in the same committee with you in delegated, and I know your capacity. I congratulate you. And you know, when you walk out there, the climate is so harsh because of climate change. And that is your docket. So when you go out there, remember us, especially us, our areas, and Ukambani, we are in their need of water and irrigation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, there's still tremendous interest in this matter, but I want to advise that we finish this at 4, so we have 20 minutes, and I reduce the time to 1.5 minutes. I'll give the women rep for Mombasa.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Niweze kumpongeza ndugu yangu kipenzi Mheshimiwa Honorable Duale. Pongezi sana. Manake ikija kwetu lazima tutasikia raha. Na nina imani kuwa mipaka yetu itakuwa salama kwa mikono yako. Nina imani kuwa wanajeshi wetu watasikia raha kwa mikono yako. Nina imani ulinzi utaimarika katika taifa hili. Kwa dada yangu kipenzi Alice Wahome, Maji ni donda sugu katika taifa hili. Tumeona ndugu zetu wa North Eastern wakilia. Nina imani kama mama, wale wanaokufa kwa njaa, minyama inayokufa kule, utaweka vizingiti na kuweka sawa maji yaenee sehemu ile, ili Kenya iwe inaweza kuwa kibichi sehemu zote za Kenya ambazo ni kavu. Nawashukuru sana na naombea dua. Ndugu yangu Duale, shika kazi, shika kasi. Nitabisha mlango wako hivi karibuni. Asante sana Bwana Spika, kwa niaba ya Mombasa nawaambia kongole nyote.
Member for Kamkunji. Give him the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Let me start by congratulating my brother and friend Duale, Aden Bare Duale, for his appointment. It is a big loss for our house. I never thought I would be the one to say farewell to him in the National Assembly. I know him as a consummate, passionate, intense politician. I kept on telling him that, in fact, for me, politics is just one part of my life. But for him, politics is in blood. It is in his blood. He sleeps politics. He wakes up politics. And I think, for sure, there has never been a better majority leader in this House than him. So it's quite a big loss. I wish him well in his new appointment. I also want to say that, in fact, he has played an important part in my own political life. In 2011, he was ahead of me several months. There was a by-election in Kamkunji. I wasn't really very keen in standing at that particular moment, and I got a call from my brother, Duale, and our current president, William Ruto. I went to see them at a Transnational Bank building, and they convinced me that I should stand in Kamkunji. And to a certain extent, I accepted that challenge, leaving my UN job to come and run in Kamkunji. So I want to thank him for his support and for his continuous support to me, and I want to wish him as the new Minister of Defense. I also want to wish my sister Alice, the lioness from Kandara. I want to wish you very well in your new appointment. You are a formidable woman. You are a very good parliamentarian. And I always had admired you because you really raised the name of Bildad Kagia, the first member of parliament for Kandara.
Thank you. Member for Embakasi. Is it North?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I also take this opportunity to congratulate my brother Aden Duale for having appointed to represent the nation as far as the security of this country and the KDF in general is concerned. I am aware that he is very able and he will represent the country at his capacity very well. On my sister, Aris Wahome. Wahome is my neighbor at home, and you know very well, I really congratulate your appointment to water, because water is life, and you know very well that Nairobi, we really need extraordinary cubics of water as we are moving to high-rise, as the agenda of the president is housing, so I am sure that you'll be able to take care of that. And also do not forget that we don't have enough for irrigating back home. Thank you very much, both of you. I wish you all well.
Member Wambilianga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this golden chance to congratulate my seniors and my colleagues at the same time. I first want to begin by congratulating you as having been elected Speaker of this House. On behalf of the people of Bungoma, I want to thank all the members in this House to have elected my Speaker. I next want to congratulate the Honorable Duale. Duale has been our role model for most of us, especially in the 12th Parliament. Actually, all I would say, Honorable Duale, you are the best majority leader I ever witnessed. And I hope Honorable Ishungwa will just take up the role, and I know is equal to the task. To my sister, Alice Wahome, you are our role model. you made us, especially the times when we struggled to begin Kenya Kwanza, the times when you began Inua Mama as the chairperson, you led us well. I remember the last time when you came to Webuye for our Inua Mama project, you made the women of Bungoma proud. You introduced MECO. And up to today, the women remember you for that. The women remember you in your speech. And it's like you read ahead. It's like you knew you will be Minister for Water. Stand up to that task, and I know you will deliver as a woman. I also want to congratulate the other ladies who were nominated in the cabinets, different cabinet secretary positions, including my own sister, and I know you will lead her. You will help her perform. The Honorable Nahomicha, that's a girl that will look unto you to also role model her. Finally, I congratulate every member who was elected who was nominated, and we also made them, using this house, we made them pass as cabinet secretaries, including my sister, whom everybody knew was not.
Time up. Women Rep Nairobi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. Adan Duale, I want to say that you will be truly missed. You mentored me through my first term in Parliament. You opened your office for me to get notes from your secretary so that I could improve my contributions. You created a lot of humor with me coming with my thermos and my backpack. But all in all, you stood for forgiveness. I remember there's a time you and I had a bit of a tiff, and then you actually met me in court and you said, Esther, I ask you if I did something wrong, sorry. You have a lot of humility in you, and I really pray that God continues to favor you. I also want to request for the youth of this country, can we make some kind of mandatory military training, which I think other countries do it, and the youth get disciplined, and they do so much more better for their country. Alice Wahome, my sister, my mentor, my mother, I am so proud of you, and I'm so happy that you've got this docket. I just want you to know that there's a study that has been done by KWSNet, which shows that women are trading their bodies for water. So we have a big crisis. Water can be, from our taps, healthy and clean for us to drink. We shouldn't have to buy water. So I really wish you well. And I want to say, Honorable Duale said that he ran 4 times from 4 different parties. Honorable Alice Wahome just wished me well in my future. Let us not think of party politics all the time. It's time for us to unite for the good of this country. Let us stand together, let us work together. Let us serve the people who are in dire need. And I know that Kenya will be better because we chose to unite for the good of this country. We don't always have to oppose each other. Politics is over. It's time to work and serve Kenyans. I wish Aisha Juma, Soipan, all the women that have been elected, including Penina. I was very disturbed when a man who does not have menstruals decided to actually say.
The Honorable Kiaria.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. This is a bittersweet bye-bye to the honorable members who are leaving this house, but we are comforted knowing that they are actually being upwardly displaced. To the Honorable Wahome, I know the blood of Bildad Kagia runs in her veins, but I would want to implore on her to more emulate the Honorable Wangari Maathai. There must be a reason why we are able to pipe oil all the way from Mombasa, and this oil is able to be distributed around the entire country. We should be able to distribute water from the aquifers in Turkana, from the water towers in the Rift Valley and Central to every part of Kenya. To the Honorable Duale, you are amazing. You might be remembered for the great speeches in this house. You might be remembered for the great book you are just about to release, The Room Where It Happened. We are looking forward to hear the secrets in the high rooms where things were happening. You might be remembered as the first leader, because even now they call you leader, even when you are a ranking member. But I personally will remember you for one piece of advice. You say to me, even at the toughest time, even with all my duties, I have made sure that in my time in Parliament, I always am home by the time when my children are doing homework. I took that up when I was a young member, and I made sure that regardless of whatever the politics is going to throw at me every day, I am at home to do homework with my children. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I congratulate all members of parliament who have been nominated, and remember that this is the house that passed your nomination. Don't lock the doors on us. Thank you very much.
Women Rep Muranga.
Mr. Speaker, I raise to congratulate Honorable Alice Wahome. I'm so proud to hear everybody refer her as a sister. To me, being the mama county for Muranga County, I want to refer her as a daughter. In social stratification, it is a wish of every parent to see the daughters and the sons outgrow their status. I'm so proud of you, Honorable Alice Wahome. I know you'll accelerate the access of clean water for all and help us to manage the wastewater. I also wish to congratulate Honorable Aden Dwale in his new role. Mr. Speaker, the Muranga County women are so proud for our beautiful, brilliant cabinet secretary. Asante.
Member for Mandera North.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And first and foremost, I want to formally congratulate Honorable Aden Dwale, Honorable Alice Wahome, for initial nomination and the approval of this morning, and all the other members who have been in this house, both in the Senate and National Assembly. Honorable Dwale, you have done your job, you have done a good work. I call you Majority Leader Emeritus because you are the first Majority Leader under the new Constitution, and you served us very, very well. And I'm sure the current Majority Leader will find actually your shoes too big, but I'm sure he will try. Honorable Dwale, the people of Garissa have elected you 4 terms, and I'm sure they will miss you. But please ensure that you still continue serving them, as well as the entire Republic of Kenya. To the people of Garissa County, Garissa Township, please ensure that you bring somebody capable who can fit into the shoes of Aden Bare Dwale. As our patron of the past parliamentary group, I wish you well as you proceed to your new docket. Honorable Alice Wahome, congratulations as well. You have done your bit. You have served the people of the county and the constituency. Now you are going to serve in a bigger capacity. They call you the Iron Lady. I want to see the ironness in you in terms of water delivery. Remember, many parts of this country, and especially the pastoralist counties, are still lacking water. And please make it a priority that the people of Kenya, and most of the pastoralist counties, receive this precious gold in the name of water. We wish you well, and as you go and undertake your duties, remember this house and accommodate each and every one of us. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I want to congratulate the Honorable Aden Dwale. You are an inspiration to many of us, young leaders. I've been in your constituency when I was serving in the Ministry of Devolution and Assaults, and I can be able to attest that indeed you've done great to your people of Garissa. Thank you so much. May God bless you as you build on what your successors have, what your predecessors have done, as you emerge the best leader. For Madam Alice Wahome, this country needs water a lot. I just pray to God that he gives you all that it takes, so that at the end of your term at the ministry, we are able to have water everywhere in this country. I admire you because normally men frustrate women, but I admire you because of an incident that involved the IEBC where some men tried to frustrate you and you said no. Thank you so much, and God bless both of you. And even for other members who are not members of this house, in my mind, the Honorable Susan, who is also my kinsmate, that may God bless you all as you serve the people of Kenya. Thank you so much.
The Honorable Member for Garissa. Women Rep Garissa.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Duale's Women Rep, and on behalf of Garissa County, we would like to thank the President, His Excellency President Ruto, the appointing committees, and this House. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Duale is loved, and the people of Garissa are sad, especially township, because we think that no one will fit his shoes. But hopefully, I'm among the people who he molded and took and brought it to the politics. I'm here because of his mentorship, and I'm sad that he's leaving, but happy that he is climbing the ladder as his women rep. I would like to thank this House, and we will slaughter some camels on behalf of Honorable to celebrate this achievement. Thank you very much. Honorable Wahome, as a woman, a young woman who is new to this parliament, I'm motivated, and I know one day we will all climb that ladder and to be great women like you. Where I come from, in the deserts, it's very hard for a woman to be here where we are today. And thanks to Honorable Duale, some of us are here. And with this motivation that a fellow woman will be up in the ladder and be serving this great nation, we thank this nation and the people who help the women to climb such a height in politics. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As my MP, Township MP goes, I will say thank you. My time is up. Thank you very much.
Member for Mbere South. Is it Mbere North? Anaruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to congratulate Honorable Aden Duale for the great leadership he has shown over the years. We started with Honorable Duale when we are members of URP, United Republican Party. That is almost 10 years ago. And he has mentored many, many people who are in this house, me one of them. And I say, Mheshimiwa Duale, please, when you serve as the Minister of Defense, this country look forward to your leadership, to your, the strategies that you are going to implement as far as security of this nation is, security and defense of this nation is concerned. And as a student of international relations, I know we are in a region where defense is seriously in need. We know we are in DRC, we can be in South Sudan and many other nations. We know we are getting some threat from the Republic of Uganda, and I know you're up to task as far as issues of defense are concerned. To my sister, Aris Wahome, who is now the Minister of Water, where I come from, Mbere North, there is a dam which we have been singing from 2016, Kamumu Dam, Kamumu Dam. Madam Minister, please, as you sit as a Minister of Water, remember the people of Mbere North, they need water. To my party leader, Justin Muturi Bidan, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, I say congratulations for the unanimous support and approval by the House.
Time up. Honorable members, I know we all want to congratulate our two colleagues. Those who have spoken for us, we associate with what you have said. And on behalf of those who have not spoken, we want to congratulate the Honorable Duale, the Honorable Alice Wahome, and all other parliamentarians from the sister house who have been nominated to cabinet and approved by this house, and indeed all those members of the cabinet that you approved today to go and serve the government of our republic. We wish them well. We hope they will take a non-partisan approach in the service to the people of Kenya and serve all Kenyans without fear, favor, or prejudice, and may God give them the wisdom to do so. I want us to end here and go to the next order.
Order number 8, motion, review of the teacher deployment policy, resumption of debate.
Thank you, members and other members. Other members, we get back to resumption of debate on teachers' deployment. We have 1 hour, 40 minutes remaining of debate, and we directly move to the next speaker on the list here. That is Honorable Caroline Ovelgeo Marakwet. She's the one next. Honorable Caroline. No, I'll have to do away with the remainder of my minutes and go directly to the next person. So is Honorable Caroline Ngeleche in the House? If she's not in, directly we move to Honorable Augustine Mwafrika. In the House, in the absence of Mwafrika, we shall follow the list. Very good. In the absence of Mwafrika, we have Honorable Knomas Mutuse. Is in the House. In the absence of Mutuse, follow the list. Let's move up. Could we have Hussein Bare? Honorable Hussein Bare. Mutuse is here. Please. You are next on the order. Next time you have to use your intervention so that I'm able to see you and you put a point of order. Unfortunately, that's a matter that had been spoken on. When you want to reduce time or to make sure that members speak for a shorter time, you have to do that at the beginning of the motion. So it cannot work now. So let's just ask the honorable members who will be speaking, beginning with Honorable Mutuse, to be magnanimous enough to spare some time for the other members. You may proceed, Honorable Mutuse.
Mr. Speaker, before I contribute, maybe to seek the clarification of the chair, I am made to move the motion on order number 9. I am made to move the motion on order number 9. Is it the time to move the motion, or I am contributing on order number? On delocalization. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The issue of delocalization. Number one, many families have been affected as a result of being separated from their loved ones. You would find, and I know specific cases in my constituency, where teachers who are about to retire are posted in counties that are far away, and their wives, who are also professionals in the teachers, are posted in counties that are also very far away. Mr. Speaker, you would realize that the family, even under the Constitution, is recognized as the basic foundation of our society. And therefore, to the extent that delocalization separates families, to the extent that delocalization separates a man and their wife to work in different areas, and they are not able to take care of their children, we find that that policy needs to be reviewed. Number two, Mr. Speaker, even if it was not possible to review the policy on localization wholesome, I find it that teachers should be posted in counties that are far away from the areas during the time of recruitment, new teachers. When you are recruited, you can be posted far away, because we also recognize that we have a country that we have to build. Police officers are posted far away, other civil servants are posted far away. But it is unfair to post teachers who are about to retire, teachers who are building, who have grown up families, to separate them from their kinspeople. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion that the Ministry of Education needs to move to review the delocalization policy so that it conforms to the Constitution in terms of making families to live nearby together, to accord them the status of being the basic foundation of society. I support the motion, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, order. May I acknowledge the presence of the following schools which are in the public gallery? Or they already left? It's okay, we had a number of schools there, but if they have left, that's well and good. Thank you very much. We may move with the debate. And next to speak is Hon Hussein Bare, if it's in the house. As much as possible, I'm following the list. So let's not do a lot of mobilizing. This will really help everyone. Don't you think so? So I'll follow the list as much as possible. On the list next is Hon Amina Nza Mnyazi of Malindi. Is she in the house? If she's not in the house,
she's there. She's there.
Proceed. Where is she? Give her the microphone.
Here.
Please, give her the microphone. Proceed. Honorable members, like I've said, I'll, as much as possible, follow the queue. This will be very fair for everyone. You may proceed.
Asante Bwana Spika. Mimi kwa majina natambulika kama Amina Laura Mnyazi, ni mbunge wa eneo bunge la Malindi, na kwa niaba yangu nataka jambo la kwanza niweze kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kuweza kunifikisha hapa. Nataka pia vile vile niweze kushukuru watu wa Malindi kwa kuwa na imani na mimi na kwa kuniteua mimi kama mbunge wao, na najua hili jukumu lenye ambalo liko mbele yangu ni jukumu kubwa, na naomba Mwenyezi Mungu aweze kusimama na mimi niweze kutekeleza yale mambo ambayo yako mbele yangu. Lengine ni kwamba niweze kupongeza wale watu wote na mawaziri wote walioweza kuteuliwa hivi leo. Nataka niwaambie pongezi. Najua pia kwenu nyinyi ni jukumu kubwa lenye ambalo liko mbele yenu, na haswa pongezi zangu pia ziweze kumfikia dadangu Aisha Jumwa, mwenye ambaye nimeweza kukalia kiti chake kwa sasa. Najua kumekuwa na mambo mengi, lakini Aisha ni mtu mwenye ambaye ako na kura yangu, na ni mtu mwenye ambaye anatoka katika eneo bunge langu, na mimi namuombea kila laheri, aweze kuzidi kufungulia milango wanawake wote wa Malindi na Kilifi County kwa ujumla. Lengine, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kuhusu yale matatizo yenye ambayo yanakumba kule katika Malindi sub county, ikiwemo baa la njaa. Kama mnavyoona, matatizo ya chakula na baa la njaa limeweza kufikia kila mahali katika Kenya hii. Sisi pale ndani ya Malindi kuna mswada wenye ambao tuliupendekeza, wenye ambao unafahamika kama Kavunyalalo Irrigation Scheme, ambao mpaka kwa dakika hii hatujaelewa ni kwa nini ama ni sababu gani yenye ambao mswada ama pesa kama zile hazijaweza kufika mashinani ili watu waweze kujisaidia. Nataka niliweze wazi hapa Bwana Spika ya kwamba project kama ile sisi tunahitaji ndani ya Malindi sub county ili tuweze kujiendeleza, kupata pato la chakula, tuweze kuondoa baa la njaa. La pili ni masuala ya utalii. Leo niko na raha kwa sababu tunaona dada yetu msomi ambaye amefanya kazi katika sekta tofauti tofauti, jina lake limeweza kupitishwa kama waziri wa utalii. Na nataka nimpongeze dadangu huyu na kumwambia kwamba awe macho na awe makini. Zile sheria zenye ambazo zinaweza kupitishwa hapa Nakuru ama Nairobi, masi mengine haziwezi kuwa ziko sawa sawa, ziwe zinapitishwa pia kule sehemu za Malindi. Malindi ni mji wenye ambao tumetegemea utalii kwa muda mrefu, na tunataka tufanye kazi na kupitisha miswada yenye ambayo itapendekeza na itapendelea ile hali ya watu wa Malindi wanapofanya kazi pale. Usalama nao ni jambo lenye ambalo lazima liliangazie kama mwakilishi wa watu wa Malindi. Usalama ndani ya Malindi sub county tunashukuru kile kichache kenye ambacho the administration wameweza kufanya, lakini pia sisi kama watu wa Malindi wenye ambao tumetegemea utalii kwa zaidi, inanisikitisha mimi kama mjumbe wao, kila masaa tukiona pale ndani ya Malindi sub county tumewekewa red notice. Nchi za kigeni wanaambiwa wasifike kwetu kwa sababu ya masuala ya usalama. Na nashukuru pia vile vile tumeweza kupata waziri mwenye ambaye anaelewa maneno haya, nataka kumwambia Mheshimiwa Waziri Aden Duale wa usalama kwamba tunataka tufanye kazi zaidi kwa pamoja kuhakikisha kwamba usalama tumeweza kurudisha, ili wageni waweze kurudi ndani ya Malindi Sub-County, ili watu waweze kujitegemea. Donda sugu lenye ambalo limeweza kuathiri Malindi Sub-County mpaka kwa sasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni masuala ya ardhi. Hivi ninavyozungumza, uskota umekithiri ndani ya Malindi Sub-County, na ndio maana mimi hapa nataka nifanye kazi na wenzangu kuhakikisha kwamba watu wameweza kupata hati miliki zao. Wiki mbili zilizopita, Bwana Spika, kuna watu wangu zaidi ya 200 wenye ambao waliweza kuvunjiwa manyumba ndani ya Malindi Sub-County, sehemu ambayo inaitwa Pendukiani ndani ya Ganda Ward, ambalo jambo kama hilo hatupaswi kuwa nalo katika karne hii na muda huu wa sasa. So hayo ni mambo yenye ambao sisi tunataka tuyaweke sawa sawa, ili kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumeweza kuweka vitu vyetu sawa na watu wa Malindi wameweza kupata huduma. Kwa wale ambao tumezungumza mswada wa walimu wenye ambao wanakuwa delocalized, na mimi nataka niunge mkono mswada huo, kwa sababu hata vile vile walimu wa Malindi wamezungumza kwa sauti moja na kusema niunge mkono mswada huo. Delocalization imeleta more harm than good to the teachers. Walimu wameweza kuacha familia zao, walimu wameweza kuvunja familia zao, na kuna athari nyingi zenye ambazo zinakuja juu haya matatizo. Sisi tunataka tupitishe miswada yenye ambayo the TSC itaweza kufanya kazi na NAT, itaweza kufanya kazi na KUPPET, ifanye kazi na all stakeholders katika educational sector, ili kuhakikisha kwamba delocalization hata kama inafanyika, kuwe kuna mpangilio barabara wenye ambao unafuatiliwa, ili watu wasiweze kusumbuka katika mahitaji yao ya hapa na pale. Kwa hayo machache, asante Bwana Spika, na labda kabla niketi, ningependa pia kuwish the retired President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta happy birthday, na hata mimi mwenyewe pia Mheshimiwa Gertrude Mbeyu. Asanteni.
Asante sana. Anayefuata ni mjumbe wa Mogotio, Ruben Kiborek.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First and foremost, I want to congratulate the CS nominees who have been approved by this House. I also want to wish them well as they serve this nation. They are men and women of competence, and we are sure and we are certain they will serve this nation with distinction. Mr. Speaker, I want to support the motion that delocalization, Mr. Speaker, has caused more harm than good. It has caused more harm in the sense that many teachers have been forced to relocate at their old age to different parts of this country, Mr. Speaker, when they're already towards their retirement. They have been inconvenienced. They have had more challenges because at that age, some of them are sickling and want to serve near home. Mr. Speaker, also the young people of my age in the career, Mr. Speaker, the young people who have just married, some have been married, and they are forced to work far away from their spouses, Mr. Speaker. They get the moral fabric of the society, Mr. Speaker, has been broken because a teacher is married to another teacher. The lady is delocalized to Mandera, and the gentleman is delocalized to Busia. Mr. Speaker, these are young people who should be working close, because at that age, Mr. Speaker, they need to be close, Mr. Speaker, for the society to be morally upright. They must be close, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, they have really suffered because of such. Another thing, Mr. Speaker, is housing. Many people, Mr. Speaker, are delocalized to rural areas where there's no provision of housing. They get to a place where they don't have anywhere to sleep, and the conditions are very not friendly to someone who comes from urban area or maybe comes from more advanced place of the society, Mr. Speaker. Unless the government put in order the places for accommodation for these people, so that when they are delocalized, they have staff quarters where they can live a decent life as teachers, Mr. Speaker. But before that, Mr. Speaker, they should work in somewhere where they can be comfortable and can serve the country from their own comfort. Mr. Speaker, another factor is delocalization has also been used as a tool to punish those teachers who have issues with their employer, Mr. Speaker. These teachers end up being delocalized because they have differences or they have administrative differences with those in the with the employers, Mr. Speaker. They are deployed to areas where it's not conducive or it's not friendly to their kind of environment I've lived before, Mr. Speaker. Many people in my constituency, Mr. Speaker, have been delocalized to Mandera, Mr. Speaker. From my constituency to Mandera, Mr. Speaker, the cost of transport is more expensive than their salary, Mr. Speaker. We have to contribute to them, Mr. Speaker, to report to their jobs, Mr. Speaker, because it is too expensive to go to Mandera than actually to their salary. Mr. Speaker, if they are delocalized, they must be compensated, both in terms of transport, Mr. Speaker, and in terms of their housing allowances, Mr. Speaker, and the hardship allowances, which is sometimes it is peanut, Mr. Speaker. Another factor, Mr. Speaker, that we must do away with this delocalization, Mr. Speaker, is that we get a teacher, Mr. Speaker, who doesn't care about the performance of the school because he's not attached to the society, Mr. Speaker. He goes to a society where he has no personal interest. The results of the school degrades, Mr. Speaker, and the person doesn't care because that's not his place. Unlike when someone who is working there is a local who has interest in the performance of the school and the improvement of the children. Mr. Speaker, for this and many other issues, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion that the localization should be done away with immediate effect, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to wish well the Cabinet Secretary for Education as we hope he will work with the Parliament to improve the standard of the education in this country, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me donate my time, Mr. Speaker. I'm a bit generous today. Let me donate my time to Honorable Ngongeno, my senior.
Well, you really don't have that locus standi to contribute time. And honorable members, I'm following the list, so it's very fair. Next to speak on this motion is Honorable Agnes Pereyo of Narok North. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me time to contribute to this motion on review of teacher deployment policy. And I want to speak on this delocalization because it has really affected our teachers and our schools. Mr. Speaker, sir, education is an important aspect in the development of our country. Teachers play an important role in our education sector and in the handling of our children. I support the motion on review of a teacher's deployment policy and most importantly, emphasize on delocalization, which has negatively impacted on the performance of our teachers. Among other teachers, it has really affected them because removing teachers from their comfort zone and taking them to where they will be looked like they are newcomers, and these teachers are on their way to retire. And this will mean that this delocalization will contribute to breaking the families of these teachers. Teachers cannot afford to have two houses. They will have one at home with their children and the other one where they will be posted. And in the areas they go to, they will be looked like these are intruders because they don't belong to that place, and it is not the community that has requested this teacher to come to that school. So I'm thinking in Narok, where I come from, Narok North, we have a history of 10 teachers cases involved in teachers in my constituency who have committed suicide just because of delocalization. These teachers have been affected, they have stress, and they cannot discuss that issue with anybody. Because when they go to TSC and the Ministry of Education are not reading on the same script. So we are eagerly waiting for the new education minister to come and solve some of these issues that are affecting education in our constituencies. Because when you go to TSC will not want to listen to the teacher. TSC wants to make sure that once you have been delocalized, you have received your letter, yours is to go. Not even talk about your illness, even if the place that you are going is a place that is not conducive for your health. Therefore, I support this motion, and I ask the TSC to make sure that they sit with the Ministry of Education and sit and make their decisions together. Because delocalization was not a policy that was brought to other stakeholders so that they could discuss it and agree on what is good for the teachers. This was done in isolation, and I don't think it was for our good. And with those few remarks, I want to support the motion. Thank you.
Very well. Bisau Kakai. On Bisau Kakai. Give him the microphone. Bisau Kakai. Very well. Proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to support the motion because actually delocalization has been very, very negative in the sense that apart from just family separations, there's been issue of incurred costs because of commuting. Teachers live far apart, and some of them operate an example, leaving Monday morning and coming back maybe on Friday evening. That is an extra cost. Also, Mr. Speaker, there's been also an exposure to accidents because of frequent commuting. Mr. Speaker, I really sympathize with communities, especially in semi-arid areas where they've had shortages of teachers. But by and large, maybe even as we support the motion with an amendment, and knowing very well that this has been passed before to the TSC, that we have a situation whereby what had been requested before during Madam Amina's ministerial position, we try to have an amendment, Mr. Speaker, whereby there is some flexibility in terms of recruiting teachers based on their mean grade within some arid areas where they've had challenges when it comes to teachers. But by and large, Mr. Speaker, we would like to ensure that we keep teachers within their home areas so that also we improve on the quality of that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. I think your point of order on may not now be relevant. The speaker was at the floor, is already out and is down. So we go next. The next speaker, you may bring it later. The next honorable to speak is Parasina of Kajiado South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like also to make my contribution on the motion on the teachers' employment policy, delocalization, and the motion that was brought in the House by Honorable Titus Amal and the amendment brought by Honorable Victor Koech. Honorable Speaker, the issue of the decolonization of teachers, teachers being transferred from the local areas of operation, the idea might have been good in the beginning, but the act of doing it is wrong. You know, I'm aware that in this country, transfers of civil servants is allowed across the board, but not for the teachers. They get special interest sometimes in the place they work. Many of them, they get their families there, they set their livelihood there, and get to transfer them back, or try to transfer them from where they're operating, or remove them because they are born in that area. Sometimes they make them not able to deliver well. I have a teacher, a principal teacher from my place, that was transferred, and he was teaching in a school called Engi Secondary School, and the school performing well. But because of the issue of the policy of decolonization by
TSC, he was moved to Meru. He went and found another lifestyle, and they had the condition that is facing now, and having traveled for 500 kilometers to a new place to a new station or the new school. I tried to find out, was he transferred or moved because he was not doing well. But the school was doing well, and the place he was taken. In fact, the population of the students is 180, meaning that to me, or to how he told me this about it, is that it's like he has been demoted. I want to say that even if you are looking on the issue of policy of employment of teachers, I want to say that TSC has acted as a cartel in this country. They come up with the policies, and they don't involve and check on what are the impact to the people or the teacher themselves and the students. Students sometimes perform well based on their teachers, and teachers are able to serve well on the areas they are operating. I want to bring to the House and to your attention, Mr. Speaker, many schools in this country, we don't have the staff quarters. So you find the teachers are forced sometimes to rent houses, but if you find the teachers working in their areas of operation, where they have their own homes, they are able to deliver. In terms of harsh conditions and allowances, you are aware that teachers are the most people who are not paid well in this country, and giving them again another condition to be shifted and be taken to other places of operation, you find out they don't do well. And I'm aware that many teachers that are facing this problem, and whenever they are watching on us on commenting on this floor, they are happy that the parliamentarians today, or the 13th Parliament, is able to debate and check on their issue. Despite the issue of salaries and other allowances, their issue now is coming that the Teacher Service Commission is given a power again to do that, to transfer them. And I think to some extent, they are affecting the way teachers have to do. Maybe you are, Mr. Speaker, sir, I also support that these things to be checked again, this policy to be looked at. Let teachers be involved, and let this TSC not sit in this house in Nairobi, to go to the ground, see how teachers are going through. Last week I was in a tour in one of the wards in my constituency, and I can tell you I visited 3 schools, and no school that has a place that a teacher can sleep. So sometimes they travel 4 to 5 kilometers to attend to that school. Having suffered the same thing, and now you are taking them to other places, I think, Mr. Speaker, for education to be education, or us to have the best, let us allow the teachers to stay there, they are operating, let them give them the peace of mind so that they can also be able to deliver. I support the motion.
Thank you. There are a number of interventions here which I think may not be relevant now. So could the following members possibly click out on interventions? That's Irene Mayaka, nominated, Hon Hussein Weitan of Mandera East, on Moses Njendi. Interventions. I'm talking about interventions because now we're in the main motion. And then, so if you could do exactly that, then we'll see if there are any new interventions that will be coming. But next now is Hon Njeri Maina of Kirinyaga. Members, I'm really following the list. I was here before this session in the afternoon, and members were very agitated about fairness. So now really the fairness is here. Give her the microphone, you may proceed. Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to note that teachers play a very important role in this nation. We must therefore agree that it is very pertinent for their issues to be looked at and conclusively dealt with. We know that we've had these discussions from time to time, and matters to do with teachers are sensitive because of the competition around the parties which are involved. Mr. Speaker, in that regard, I want to support the motion to do away with compulsory delocalization of teachers. The key word here, Mr. Speaker, is compulsory. It does not mean that this House is against teachers being transferred, but the procedure and the process that is undertaken by the key stakeholders must be looked at thoroughly. Mr. Speaker, sir, I have had several complaints from teachers in my home county telling me and narrating how families have been torn apart due to the compulsory delocalization. Mr. Speaker, I therefore want to urge members to ensure that their voices are heard and that it comes out clearly that guidelines and procedures must be put in place so that any transfer of teachers that is going to happen in future should be consultative. And this is a process where we will have guidelines and teachers will be consulted and be able to raise issues on why perhaps they're not able to move to work to another county. I believe teachers do a work that is based on mostly on a calling. So I believe they also understand that it is important that the right to education that is guaranteed by the Constitution of Kenya 2010 is executed. And it is not therefore an intention on their part to deny service to communities that need the services that they offer. Mr. Speaker, sir, the family dynamics, the health, and any other issues that will be raised by the teachers must be considered before they are transferred. Mr. Speaker, sir, compulsory delocalization has been weaponized before by the people who are in power to ensure that the teachers who are pertained or purported to be anti-them or anti their interest are transferred to areas where, for want of a better word, is not suitable for their even career development. Teachers are like any other employees, Mr. Speaker, sir. So therefore, their needs must be looked into. And this House must be intentional and ensure that it is seen to the very completion that we do away with delocalization with immediate effect, and we put in procedures and measures for teachers to be able to have a consultative basis of transfer. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to donate my time to the new colleagues in the House. Thank you for the time.
And thank you very much for donating some time to also the other colleagues. So next is Honorable Adams, Kipsanai, Keyo North. You are next on the list. Not being there, Kipsanai.
Honorable.
Order, Wanyama. Dan Wanyama, order. Order. Take your seat down, please. Next is on Julius Ruto cases. Very well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for the moment that you accorded me to make my contribution to this enormous discussion. Indeed, as my counterparts have said, delocalization, that is a new term that came in recently when the then Ministry of Education decided to absurdly move teachers from their area of education or the local area they have been for quite some time to the new areas. Of course, could be it was driven by good motive over a change is as good as a rest. But again, the way it was done, to some extent, it was not procedural. We want to appreciate the fact that Kenya is good. We have diverse culture. We have diverse people. Allowing the new teachers to start teaching from a different area away from where they come from would be a good way, or would be a good thing to be put in place as a good practice. But then, as time goes, as our teachers who have made us to be who we are today, while they are aging, we understand age comes with challenges, age comes with some diseases, even tiring of their mind. Some want to prepare for retirement, and the best way to retire for a teacher is no any other place than the home where they call their home. So at this, we want to allow this delocalization, if it has to be there for better performance, for good integration, and even for the same teachers to understand, to appreciate how Kenya is diverse, that even as they are giving knowledge to these children, they should give on the background of knowing exactly how our country it is. But then we need to encourage, we need to blow upon the policymakers. When they formulate a policy, let them do it within some given limits or boundaries. Let's allow a teacher at the age of around 45 or 50 plus now to begin to get back to the area of residence, to allow this particular teacher to prepare for retirement, because immediately after the retirement, this teacher may not be privileged like some of us or some of our civil servants who are privileged to earn better than them. Their earning is so way low to the extent that even their saving, even their pension at the time of retiring may not be sweeting enough to give them the better life, other than allowing them time to get back to their homes and prepare, if it is agriculture, if it is farming, if it is business, so that they have a place to learn. Nowadays, we have encountered a lot of psychological challenges that our teachers are going through, stress, depression, and most of this, it goes around because the loans they have taken, now they have been delocalized. At the place they have gone, there is no housing, new environment. What do you tell? The next thing, this person will have to indulge in alcoholism, poor performance, if at all you are expecting them to perform, and at the end of the day, some associated diseases will come on them. So I stand in this house to support the motion of relooking at the delocalization. We may not do away with it completely, but we need to reframe it so that we are able to achieve the objective of improving performance and encouraging the unity and cohesion amongst us as Kenyans. Thank you so much for this moment I've been accorded. And I want to accord the remaining minutes to my counterparts, of course, the new ones. And as I conclude, Mr. Speaker, the cry by my colleague member Yegon in the morning, I think we need time to discuss this. That we as new members, we feel that if at all the only time for us to talk is when the House is almost empty, it is not fair. We want to allow the ranking members, the few of them, but accord us time, even when all of us are here. Even some of the senior members have never known whether we can make contribution equivalent to them. And even if we have to make errors, let's make errors when they are here. They can assist us improve. Thank you so much.
Very well. I want to also indicate that there will be more time and space and opportunities to speak to this House even during that prime time, especially when now that you passed the motion on nominees to the cabinet, we shall have questions, we shall have petitions, and we shall have many other opportunities. So let's just be in the House on time and you'll get a chance. Next is Hon Kibet Kimingoi. Kibet Kimingoi. Please proceed. There's a mic. Okay, use that one. You may proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. In support of the motion, I rise up. First, I want to commend the mover. And number two, want to reiterate the fact that delocalization in itself is not a bad idea. However, it has been misused, it is being abused, and it has been even in some cases used to force teachers out of service. In my constituency, Mr. Speaker, I have 2 teachers who at the height of campaigns, because of the position they had taken, were transferred to Lamu, and when they went to that school, the school had actually been closed because of insecurity. By the time they are coming back, they were told they have deserted duty and therefore removed from service. So in exercising this, the proposal to have a clear policy is the way to go. And on this issue, we will also have to deal with the sister issues that are arising out of delocalization. We may be delocalizing because there are inadequate teachers within some areas and in some communities in our country. Then the question would be, why wouldn't we employ new teachers in those areas, knowing the fact that there are so many teachers who are out of employment and they have graduated from school? Number 2, to have this have a human face, we must also look at the totality of the welfare of the teacher. We know that because of this program, some schools have been staffed properly, some schools are understaffed. With this, the communities that those schools are, they are now being forced to employ the what we are calling the BOM teachers, additionally burdening those schools to be able to meet the cost of those teachers in those schools. Our idea now is that with creation of a proper policy, especially on delocalization, we will be able to map out the areas that need more teachers. We will be able to employ those teachers, and we will be able also to see that the welfare of the teacher in the school is taken care of. Together with that, Mr. Speaker, is the question of the welfare of the teacher in those areas. If, for example, we force a teacher from one constituency to a far other constituency, we know that the medical insurance that the teachers have been given is tied to a certain hospital. While it is true that they have two medical covers, the NHIF and their own Minet, we are aware about the issues that have surrounded those two insurances. It will be proper now also to see to it that the welfare of the teacher, especially the medical welfare, under these circumstances is taken care of. I would also want to reiterate the point that the honorable member from Keses had said. If you are delocalizing a 58-year-old and hope that he will still make to go back home in retirement, when will such a member of our society be able to prepare for his retirement? All the things that we are asking is that in support of this motion, let the government and the Ministry of Education set out a clear policy that will determine when, how, and to what extent this will be practiced, and in its practice, a human face to be fixed on it. Attendant also to it, Mr. Speaker, is the question of recruitment, the amendment that came through. We know, and we've heard through the statistics that have been provided to us, that there is a huge deficit of teachers in our schools. Further, we know also that there are so many teachers who are qualified to teach within the schools. Ours is actually, let's look into this so that we may be able to absorb this population of teachers into classrooms, that they may be able to effectively teach and also disseminate the information to the children. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I support the motion. Thank you.
Hon Hussein Waitan, Mandera East. Waitan. Okay. Next, Abraham Kirwa Mosop. Very well. President, give him the mic.
I'm here. Honorable Speaker, allow me to thank you for this opportunity that you've given me to just comment on this motion of delocalization. And before I do that, I want to also thank my people of Mosop for this opportunity as well. Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, the issue of delocalization has become a very sensitive issue in the country at the moment. And as most of my colleagues have mentioned here, and I continue to say, that delocalization was done without the consent of most of the teachers. Kenya National Union of Teachers, KUPPET, and many of these organizations, unions also actually, were against it. From the first place, the compensation that we give to teachers is so minimal that if you move a teacher who is locally employed, who stays at home, who has his own garden at home, who has his food at home, the moment you move him to a different location or a different place, the cost of living is going to be higher, which means the compensation that he's receiving will not be sufficient enough to support a teacher. Two, once you move a teacher from his family, assuming you move a teacher from Rift Valley to Western, he has to look for a place to stay, he has to look for food, he has to figure a way to take care of his family when he's away. And this issue has truly caused a lot of anxiety and a lot of uncomfortability amongst the teachers. So I believe, and I also support this motion, that it has to be reviewed. I think it was hurriedly implemented. I don't think the teachers were consulted. I don't think there was a public participation. So I believe the Teacher Service Commission needs to review this policy, and they need to go back to exactly what helps the teachers. Because it's easy to say that we are going to move a teacher to Nairobi, we are moving a teacher from Kericho to Eldoret, without thinking, how are we going to support this teacher?
So I believe that allowing the teachers or reversing this decision, this policy, to allow the teachers to go back. Every time I'm home, I get a chance, and most of the teachers come to me and tells me, Mr. MP, can you organize for me to come back home? I was transferred because of this localization issue, and it has caused a lot of issues in my family. Can you talk with the TSC? Can you talk with the ministry to allow me to come back home so that I'm closer to my family, I'm closer to my whatever I do at home? And at the same time, all education is local. The people who understands the community within where they live are the teachers. So if you bring somebody who actually doesn't understand that community, they have to actually learn, understand that community to be able to be effective as a teacher. They may not understand the needs of the villagers. They may not understand the issues that goes on in that village. But when a teacher who grew up in that village, a teacher who lives in that village, understands a lot of issues and the issues that the students and the pupils go through. So it is better and it is good for our people to go back to where they grew up. Delocalization by itself might not be a bad thing, but the way it was done has truly caused a lot of issues that the teachers are not happy, and so they cannot be productive in their teaching. So my suggestion, Mr. Speaker, is that we go back to what it used to be, we reverse this policy, or come up with a policy that will be able to address better issues that will address education better. And with that, allow me to also donate the rest of my time back to some of our new members who have not gotten a chance to say anything. Because, Mr. Speaker, we have had issues where we want to contribute to the motions, but we've not been given a chance to actually address them. So at this moment, allow me to give back to the rest of the members. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. If you are in the house on time, you key in your card, you'll get space. Next here is Hon Joseph Cherorot, Kipkelion East. Very well. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the time granted to me. First of all, congratulations for standing in on behalf of the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, about the issue of delocalization, the way it was brought without public participation. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, some of the teachers have really suffered. And also the way it was done, Mr. Speaker, is that it was done in a way as if it was a punishment to some of the teachers because it was a way of settling scores, and some teachers were transferred out of their home area because they could not get along well with their seniors. So it has been misused, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we know that also teachers are also human beings like us, and they have families, and some of them are even vulnerable to diseases. Some, Mr. Speaker, who are transferred or delocalized to various places have aged or they are almost retiring, and going to settle in those places was also a problem, Mr. Speaker. For this reason, Mr. Speaker, it's good actually to have a proper policy which can help to put in a proper manner the transfers and this issue of delocalization. First of all, I think we have to do, or they have to, public participation has to be done so that those teachers who are also willing can go to those transfers. It also affects the community because we know that some teachers are from some communities and local places, and when they get transferred to go and chill with other communities there, it becomes a problem, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, my proposal is that I support the motion, and this issue of delocalization should be actually considered in a proper manner, and therefore I support the motion, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Gideon Ochanda, Honorable, and thank you for following the queue. You're next. Proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, some of the concerns I wanted to raise, I thought would have been very interesting if you are not on your seat as a teacher leader. Mr. Speaker, I'm convinced as a person that we are addressing one thing an anomaly. We are glorifying an anomaly that TSC carried out administratively, and we are trying to look at it in terms of a policy, and even trying to look at it in terms of a policy that needs to be corrected, and even looking at it as a policy that needs to be there. In my view, this was an anomaly that we should not have at all. We have to look at these things in terms of the process. If we're looking at all through from recruitment to deployment, and then after serving for 30, 40 years, another redeployment is done in the name of delocalization, which in actual fact is supposed to be looked at as transfers. So these transfers that we are calling delocalization, the manner at which it was done, is where there's a problem. And the problem is so gross to an extent that you cannot recruit locally, deploy locally, and then wait for 30 years. You move the person from the station in the name of another process of redeployment that we are calling delocalization, Mr. Speaker. This is where the problem is. We must correct this thing from the very beginning. We must correct it from the recruitment level. We must correct it at the level of deployment, such the rest of the things are looked at as transfers, not another administrative process where we collect a big number of elderly teachers, people who are almost retiring, and you put them in buses and you hound them from their local areas to far off districts and counties. I think this is where the problem is. The whole idea of delocalization, in my view, should not be there. If we look at this thing from the root, let's recruit a teacher as any other civil servant who can be placed and work anywhere in this country, and he gets to know that from the very beginning, so that when he or she is deployed in Garissa, let her go and work in Garissa. If she's taken to Durkana, let her work. And when the process of transfers are effected, we look at it as transfers like it happens to any other civil servant. This idea that you post them locally, recruit them locally, and then all of a sudden you hound them out of the local environment after serving for a period of time in the name of a new thing, administrative exercise called delocalization, in my view, is wrong. It's totally wrong, and I believe, Chair or Mr. Speaker, as a teacher leader, this thing needs to be picked from there. And it is something that, in my view, we don't need to do a policy for now. Let's correct the process of recruitment. Let's correct the process of deployment. And immediately those things are corrected, then there will be no need of something called delocalization. People will be transferred, teachers will be transferred. So I think if we don't look at this thing of delocalization as when people are already almost retiring, why should we have it as a permanent thing that must have a policy? It should not be there, in my view. We should not be having a policy called a policy localization. Where there were messes from 2018 to date in the name of delocalization, let's handle it administratively, Mr. Speaker, such that there is a process where even we don't do it en masse, we do it in a manner that there are notices, because it is not the mistake of these teachers who are getting delocalized. It was not their mistake. They didn't post themselves to those schools. They didn't recruit themselves to those schools. So, Mr. Speaker, this issue of delocalization needs to be looked at afresh, so that we look at transfers in a manner like we look at any other transfer of a civil servant. And when we look at it in that manner, we need to consider very many other things. You can't allow somebody to serve for many years in one station, and after those many years, they are moved to go to strange places which they really don't know. As at the moment, Mr. Speaker, recruitment, you remember, was being done at the sub-county and the county levels, of particularly the primary school teachers, and even the secondary school teachers. It's being done by the school boards. Now this has been moved in the last, I think, 1 year or so to Nairobi. But the process of identifying who is supposed to be recruited is still identifiable with the sub-county where somebody comes from. So somebody like now Bondo, people, applicants are picked. They apply from the office at level at the Bondo. They are brought to Nairobi, And when postings are being done, it is this MTSC that posts teachers to their local areas. And once you have posted them to their local areas, why harass them later when they have settled in those places for such a long period of time? So, Mr. Speaker, what I'm trying to say, that TSC must just look at its processes of recruitment afresh, must look at its process of deployment afresh. And there should be nothing like redeployment. There should be transfers. No more transfers the way civil servants are transferred. And sometimes transferred could be requested. Teachers will be requesting for transfers like many other civil servants do. When you are transferred to a place where you can't fit, there are always reasons why that can't happen, and you are asked for it. So I think this process really needs to be looked at the way we look at other civil servants. There are a lot of advantages when you work elsewhere other than your area. There are very many advantages. But when this thing is brought in an abrupt manner, we are in 2018, now 2018, if you are in your local areas, you are getting moved out. That's wrong. That's where the problem is. But there's a lot of advantages in one working outside their local areas. Even some of us who are taught by teachers who are from far off our places, the amount of respect that those teachers have locally is much different from when a local person is teaching in their own local area. There are a lot of advantages. But we can't look at that in the direction where we remove teachers where they have been for years in a mass manner. I think this is something that should not be looked at, Mr. Speaker. And you, again, as a teacher leader, I want to believe that this needs to be revisited. We don't need to be doing delocalization. We need to rectify our processes of recruitment and deployment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Hon Abdi Sirat Ali, nominated. Give him the microphone. Or any mic around that. Very well. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this platform to address this House. First and foremost, may I take this chance to thank my party, UDA, and the President for nominating me to this House. Mr. Speaker, this is my first maiden speech, and I would like to contribute to the motion by supporting the delocalization of teachers. Teachers, like other civil servants, should never be saturated in one place, and when we have shortage in other areas. Remember, the place where I come from, northern Kenya, we have historical challenges with teachers. And unless affirmative action is practiced, whereby we lower entry points to teach in colleges, we cannot just try to concentrate teachers in areas and leave out those areas. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I would like also to highlight some real challenges that are undergoing in my counties, northern counties. One of them is drought. Mr. Speaker, currently we are having a ravaging drought which has completely wiped out livelihoods. You are aware that those communities depend on livestock, and due to this cyclic and punishing drought, those livestock have been lost. As we speak now, we are almost losing human lives because of that drought. Mr. Speaker, our president has flagged off relief food almost 40 days ago. And as we speak, no tangible relief food has reached those destinations of northern Kenya, particularly Mandera, Wajir, Garissa, Tana River, Turkana. Mr. Speaker, we cannot change the pattern of drought. It's unnatural natural disaster. But we can change the effect of drought by mitigating, having proper plans and mitigations, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as we are undergoing ravaging drought, we have a twin challenge of insecurity. The little attempt by community-based organizations, NGOs, and well-wishers are not able to reach the final destination due to terror attacks. These attacks are done within our borders. Our security team are becoming helpless. Mr. Speaker, to add insult on injury on, to add also to the problems, Mr. Speaker, our own security team are not helping the situation. They are also doing their, their part in adding to the insecurity. Human lives are lost in unclear circumstances. Kidnapping, killing by our own security team, Mr. Speaker. We have seen human lives lost through the hands of our own security. Bodies have been dumped into rivers by mere suspects. Yes, you are suspected. No judicial process is followed. Mr. Speaker, human lives are just lost as easily as that, Mr. Speaker. I'm glad our president has disbanded the killer squad, but we should not leave them like that. They must be taken to account for what they have done, Mr. Speaker. Action is needed, Mr. Speaker, and that action must be done now, must be taken now, Mr. Speaker. We have the other issue of health, Mr. Speaker. Health, decent health is a human right aspect, Mr. Speaker. And as much as we are doing some attempts, Mr. Speaker, people are still moving longer distance to get medical attention, Mr. Speaker. I support the president in increasing the contributions to NHIF, because NHIF is the only organization that is doing something at least tangible. We need to fund NHIF, reorganize, and increase the contributions from the current ceiling of 1,700 to at least 10,000, 8,000, depending on the income of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. We must charge the rich and let them pay more to support the poor, Mr. Speaker. In that way, we will cover the 50 million Kenyans who are in need of health, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the other issue we're having in those marginalized areas of northern Kenya is the area of housing, Mr. Speaker. This KK government, Kenya Kwanza government, has started to have housing, Mr. Speaker, for this country. We urge the government to start from those needy counties. Let's have bottom-up approach will help those who are already marginalized to have access to housing, Mr. Speaker. The other issue we have is the issue of, Mr. Speaker, the issue of ID cards. We are still having challenges with getting Kenyan national ID cards on those marginalized counties. I don't know why the person who is coming from northern Kenya is not able to have ID cards as easily as the person who is coming from Busia. We have lawyers who are in Uganda and in Kenya, and they don't have a problem. When I come from Mandera, I'm told, oh, you are bordering Somalia. You should be subjected to unnecessary processes. Mr. Speaker, we can't have two countries. We have Kenya, and let's have one uniform application of rules, Mr. Speaker. Our young men, youth are frustrated. They are going under frustrations. They cannot get ID cards as quickly as possible. Hence, they cannot get even employment. Even they can't go to higher we will move very fast, and we will demand our right, Mr. Speaker. With those few remarks, I donate my time, and thank you very much.
Thank you. That was a maiden speech. Next is Hon Mangale Chiforo Modo, Lunga Lunga. Very well. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the motion by Honorable Titus Kamala, together with amendments proposed by Honorable Koech from Chepalungu. Mr. Speaker, Teachers Service Commission, it is frustrating the teachers of this country, because delocalization was brought about when they wanted to punish the unionists. Now it has turned, they have done away with the union. Now they have come now to the teachers themselves. History is very clear. Teachers of this country in 1967, their own wisdom, decided to form Teacher Service Commission so that they can have an employer who will actually take care of their interests. But now it has turned to be a nightmare. Delocalization is frustrating teachers. Delocalization is killing teachers. Delocalization is making teachers of this nation to look like they have nothing now. They are like useless. Just imagine, I have an example of a teacher who had glaucoma, and he was forced to this animal called delocalization, taken far away, 500 kilometers away from his home. Now today, the teacher is blind. There are many other teachers who have been suffering, so many. My colleagues here, honorable members, have contributed that there are teachers who have been separated with their spouses. There are some who have been transferred while the age is, imagine, 58 years. It's too much. Just to say, Teacher Service Commission ought to employ, they need to employ more teachers. Again, we know that there is this issue of transfers. Let the teachers be allowed to apply transfers. We know there are so many teachers who have applied transfer and they have not been given. They're just there, but they are just touching those who are, the teachers who are already settled, and take them away from their homes. I want to also stand with my colleagues that this delocalization menace should be stopped forthwith, so that our teachers can settle where they are comfortable. They are human beings. They are also, you know, you cannot compare teaching profession with other professions. You see, they are handling, let's look, for example, the primary teachers are handling small children whom maybe they are from the same culture. So we need to stop this, Teacher Service Commission need to stop this animal called delocalization. And teacher management generally has been poorly handled since the coming in of the new CEO. You can imagine all the programs which have been introduced, they are punitive. This thing they call teacher appraisal, many other things they have introduced, but they all look punitive. The head teachers and principals are always online to feel, I don't know what, so that they are appraised and nothing is happening. And again, it has become very difficult for teachers to be promoted in this country. I think time has come for this House to protect the teachers of Kenya. so that they are also being considered to be to be human beings and also professionals. Again, I want to mention that school heads, they have been detached from their fellow teachers. They are being considered to be managers, and new ranks have been introduced just to make sure that they are dictating terms to the, let me not say other teachers, but the teachers who are in the classroom teachers. So we need to actually address this issue so that we bring it into rest for the teachers of this country to enjoy and also work as any other professional in this country. We cannot allow the Teacher Service Commission to twist all these other stakeholders. You can imagine, they cannot even work together with the ministry officials. We are always in the sub-county offices, sitting together, bringing peace and harmony. For what? I think everybody, the Teacher Service Commission, need to respect that the ministry officials in the sub-county and even at the country level. Nationally too, they need to. So the new minister for education, he has a responsibility to bring this mess into arrest and also make sure that he brings discipline and order to the Teacher Service Commission in total. Recruitment of teachers should be considered to be a very serious exercise, and it should be done at the sub-county level. This issue of bringing all issues or all the processes into the national level or the Teacher Service Commission headquarters, sometimes it deprives chances to other teachers. So, Mr. Speaker, TSC has turned now to be eating its own initiators. And we need to save the teachers through this House. Honorable Speaker, I want to stand and support this motion that delocalization is to stop forthwith so that teachers can be treated with decorum and respect so that they also enjoy as human beings. Asante sana. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Next, Hon Moses Injendi, and thank you for following the queue despite being a ranking member. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to support this motion as amended. Mr. Speaker, I would imagine that TSC had a very good idea when it came to this delocalization. But I think the challenge was or is to do with how they managed this process. But however, I would imagine, for example, personally, that one school in a particular school, from class 1 to class 6 or 7 or 8, proceeded to second school in the same school, if that primary school has also a second school, then went to college. When it came to posting, he's also posted in the same school, same village. And we know how our villages are. We come from particular clans, particular tribes. I would imagine this kind of person or this kind of community would not grow, would not expand his knowledge. We have to share that even a village, when a village is exposed to some foreign culture, different kind of behavior, it can itself reflect on how it goes about its life and maybe change. But Mr. Speaker, when you look at the whole process of delocalization from the TSC, we are imagining that it was implemented in a way to punish teachers. Because when you look at, for example, other cadres of employment, for example, nurses, when it comes to posting for nurses, when it comes to posting of police officers, when it comes to posting of vet officers, there's no cry as it is currently with the teachers. Mr. Speaker, TSC must consider, and as I'm saying that I'm supporting this motion with amendment, I know the academic calendar for schools is ending in December. I would urge that TSC immediately reverses all the transfers it actually effected by December, that teachers come back to their usual positions, so that we can actually relook at the whole policy, the whole program of posting teachers. Mr. Speaker, when you look at even the term itself, delocalization, the connotation itself is very negative. Whom are you delocalizing to where? Because we think all of us are Kenyans. So you are delocalizing one from where to which kind of region? And if you are delocalizing someone and you take him to another region, in itself becomes very negative to this particular person in that particular area. Mr. Speaker, they have really to reconsider, even when it comes to this business of delocalization. When you look at the Education Act, it talks of, when it comes to a primary section, that when it comes to a primary section, our pre-unit, class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, they must be taught their mother tongue. So when it comes to delocalization, you are delocalizing a head teacher. For my case here, most of the teachers who have come to my area, Kakamega County, Malava, they are from Bondo. So you're delocalizing a person from Bondo to come and manage a school in Western, which is Luya. How will this head teacher manage, supervise the teaching of the pupils in class 1, class 2, to ensure that really the language that they are being taught is a cultural language? Mr. Speaker, I think when it comes to this business of teachers, they must reverse the whole thing, that we have to start with, after training, a policy comes up that after training, then teachers can be posted, particularly in second schools. Because I recall myself, when I was in high school, teachers who taught me were not from my village, and there was no complaint. So TSE or the CEO must reconsider herself. How come this particular time round, teachers are crying? Everyone is crying. In other sector, when it comes to posting, when it comes to deployment, there's no noise as it is when it comes to TSC and the postings. So, Speaker, this is an area that I would ask the CEO to listen to the voice of people's representatives, because it looks like the CEO has killed Nat, the CEO has killed Kopet, where you sit, that your voices are not being heard by her. And now that we are speaking, Mr. Speaker, I think she should listen to the voice of Kenyans who are crying because of her treatment of the teachers when it comes to this delocalization. Mr. Speaker, in my area, I've seen teachers there from other areas. Teachers actually who are sick, completely sick. Some of them they are suffering from stroke. Some of them are always going to hospital for treatment. Then I was asking myself, why would this kind of teacher be delocalized, come from his family where maybe the wife was taking care of him, come to a far place school to teach? How would this person even concentrate in school? Mr. Speaker, I've also seen teachers, really, and I don't know how come TSC does not have the feelings to see this or to notice this, who are just newly married. Someone just newly married, and you understand when you are newly married, especially from where we come from, the tropics, you want to be with your wife closely, and then you transfer the newly married teacher to a different school. You actually breaking up the family. There was honorable member in the morning here was talking of most of the male teachers, after being transferred, they end up marrying another woman or having a concubine. We also know of now, even where female teachers, because the husband now is far away, like in Coast, in Western here, where now you have now another man who is actually living with that madam teacher because of separation from the husband. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a fact of life that we have to bear up with, and we ask TSC really to consider the whole...
Yes, what's your point of order? Give her the micro. Order member, you now have the micro.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. The honorable member who's mentioning about the ladies who are left and they start getting other men, I think it is not in order because he's not a woman.
Okay, Hon Malulu Njen, you have been advised to use as much as possible parliamentary language. You may proceed. Give Honorable Malulu Njendi the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. But there was an honorable member here from Kericho who also said men get married. And we are all human beings. So when men get married to other ladies, I believe she's getting into a relationship with another lady who could be also someone else's wife. Someone else's wife. That's how it is, Madam Mheshimiwa. So I would finish by urging TSC to reconsider this particular position. If it is serving TSC politically, this has served TSC politically, because I know of teachers who are also not speaking the language of Azmio, who are really victims to these transfers. So it has served them, and now that we have a new government, TSC should just reconsider and get teachers back to their stations. There is, I'm aware, there is a circular where they are saying that those teachers who would like to revert to their local schools, they identify teachers who also want to change. Mr. Speaker, this should not be the business of the teacher to identify who is willing to transfer or to get back to the local school, because the teachers may not know. Let TSC just redeploy, get these teachers back to their local sub-counties. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. On Hamala Muhwana Lurambi.
I'm the mover.
The mover, no. Please key out. Then on Marine Kitani, Eldai. Okay, next. On Ali.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningelipenda kuunga mkono na kusema ya kwamba mikakati maalum inafaa iwekwe katika tume hii ya TSC kulingana na vilio vya walimu wengi kote nchini. Mimi kwanza nitazungumzia eneo bunge langu la Nyali. Sisi wabunge wa taifa tuna majukumu makubwa sana ya kuwekeza katika elimu. Na kadri tunavyozidi kusonga mbele na kujenga shule hapa na pale katika wodi mbalimbali, tumekuwa na changamoto sana ya uhaba wa walimu, na vile vile wakati ambapo walimu wanaandikwa kazi, hawa walimu hawaandikwi kazi kutoka maeneo yetu. Ni kana kwamba kuna njia ambayo TSC inatumia, njia ambayo inafaa kupigwa msasa na kuhakikisha ya kwamba masuala yote yanayohusu walimu wa Jamhuri ya Kenya inaweza kuangaliwa kwa undani na kwa umakini kabisa. Tukizungumzia kazi zao, watu kuondolewa katika maeneo yao, kupelekwa katika maeneo mengine bila ya sababu, na wakati wa kuajiri unashtukia kwamba ni watu kutoka sehemu zingine wanaletwa katika sehemu zile, na kuacha walimu ambao wale wako pale na kufanya zile shule ambazo sisi tumezijenga kama wabunge kuwa na uhaba wa walimu na kutegemea wale walimu wa BOM. Vile vile ningelipenda kuzungumzia TSC yenyewe. Mimi kama mbunge katika bunge la 12, bunge lililopita, hili ni bunge la 13, nimekuwa na wakati mgumu sana sana, hususan ukienda katika afisi zao na kutafuta usaidizi. sana sana wakati ambapo tunajenga shule na kuhakikisha kwamba tunataka walimu wa kutosha. Ukienda katika majengo yao, tume hiyo inaendeshwa kama gari ya wizi. Tume ambayo haitaki kusikiliza, haina heshima na wabunge, haitaki kusikia vilio vya watoto wa eneo bunge, kwa sababu vilio vya watoto hao ni vilio vya uhaba wa walimu, ni vilio vya walimu kulipwa mishahara duni, ni vilio ambapo walimu hawana hata bima ya afya inayoweza kuwasaidia vizuri, ni vilio ambavyo vinasababisha watoto kupata alama za chini katika eneo bunge mbalimbali ama katika kaunti mbalimbali humu nchini Kenya. Uhaba wa walimu unasababisha alama mbaya. Kutumia walimu wa BOM na kukataa kuajiri walimu bado inazidi kuleta mzigo. Hii masuala ya walimu wakubaliwe kuchukuliwa katika sehemu zao. Wao pia ni binadamu. Najua kuna ule mpangilio wa asasi za serikali ya kwamba mtu akiweza kufanya kazi katika kipindi fulani katika kituo fulani kwa muda fulani ni sharti yaondolewe apelekwe sehemu nyingine. Lakini utapata katika hii TSC sio hivyo. Wao wataendesha vile ambavyo wanataka, na sisi kama wabunge ndio tuna majukumu makubwa sana. Kwa mfano katika kipindi cha miaka mitano, kipindi cha bunge la 12 iliyopita, Nyali peke yake niliweza kujenga shule takriban 7. Hizi shule 7 mpaka wa leo katika bunge la 13, hizi shule zinaendeshwa na walimu wa BOM. Hizi shule zinaendeshwa na walimu watatu.
On member, order. You may proceed to conclude because the time allocated for this motion is running out.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Labda kukumalizia tu ni kueleza matatizo ambayo yanatukumba sisi na mabadiliko ambayo tunataka. Kwa hivyo ni lazima, ni sharti kuwe na mikakati maalum, pia kuwe na mageuzi ndani ya TSC. Haiwezi kuwa ikiendeshwa na mtu mmoja miaka nenda miaka rudi. Vijana chapakazi, damu moto waingie katika ofisi hizi ili waweze kusikiliza vilio vya walimu, vilio vya wazazi na vilio vya watoto. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Time being 5:28 p.m. The time allocated for this motion is actually that we are done with that particular time, and may the mover be called upon to reply.
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much. I want to appreciate the honorable members for their immense contribution and their support for this motion. And the Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank you immensely because you being an educationist, you understand where we are coming from and you have a history of our education system. And so I am proud that I stand with this motion and you are in the chair. Honorable Speaker, as we've heard so much from the honorable members in regard to this issue, the localization, and one of the honorable member spoke immensely on us not just running with an issue, or, you know, we have become a society that is reactive as opposed to being proactive. Mr. Speaker, we will not be here today debating on this motion, the localization, if the Teacher Service Commission was handling teachers in the way they are supposed to do it, professionally and with the stipulated rules. Mr. Speaker, we've had honorable members give their contributions, and the majority, I would say overwhelmingly, 99.99%, each one of them has an experience that is coming from their constituencies, the sufferings, the challenges the teachers are going through, and we represent people. As members of parliament, when our people are challenged, when they have problems, they look to us as leaders to offer solutions. And it will be very important, honorable members, going forward, for us to look at this issue holistically so that we fix this anomaly once and for all. Honorable Speaker, we as members of parliament cannot be alien in the offices of Teacher Service Commission. And I am so happy to report that this last week I had a very fruitful meeting with the regional director, TSC, Western Region in Kakamega, together with the county director. For the first time, I was able to sit with these two wonderful ladies. We spoke issues concerning our teachers, staffing, where I even lamented. I reported to the office that my constituency, Lurambi, which has Kakamega town, has becoming a dumping ground. And you find the teachers that have conditions, and God forbid, and I pray that everybody's in good health. But you don't want a situation whereby ailing teachers are put in one area, and in every school we have teachers with conditions. We want to support our teachers, but we also want the employer to be alive to the fact that you cannot have teachers with conditions just put in one place where you make that place look like it's a dumping ground for teachers. So we have work to do in the 13th Parliament to support our teachers, to make sure that the employer is not a bully, to make sure, and we must also, Honorable Speaker, we must also look at the elephant in the room. And as members of parliament, because we represent Kenyans, and these teachers are our voters, where is the problem within the Teacher Service Commission? Perhaps we should go for the leadership of the Teacher Service Commission. If the CEO of Teacher Service Commission was not running that commission as a personal property, we will not be here today discussing issues of teachers. So we shall not be afraid. And Honorable Speaker, remember, Joseph was in Egypt, and there was a pharaoh who knew him and favored him. But there came a time when that pharaoh died, and there was a new one. And the new one did not know anything about Joseph and the story of the Israelites. Honorable Speaker, we are the representatives of the people, and the TSC cannot have a one-person show, bullying teachers left and right, and we sit comfortable in our seats when our teachers are suffering, when our teachers are being mistreated. Those days are gone. We are in a new dispensation, and the rule of law has to be supreme. Honorable Speaker, I'm looking forward, and Honorable Meli was the chairman of the Education Committee in the last Parliament, 12th Parliament. He was such a great guy. He was very approachable. We want our committees in the Parliament to be strong so that we can call these civil servants to responsibility and to account. So, Mr. Speaker, I am grateful, and I want to donate a little time that is remaining, if you allow me, whether it's 1 minute. I can see there is a Zamzam, Honorable Zamzam, Honorable Ambirianga, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Member, you have only 4 minutes, so you have called out Ambirianga, and who else?
Honorable Zamzam and Wamboga, Catherine, and Hussein.
The faster you go so that they have their time, the better. You may proceed. Honorable. No, there's the lady, Honorable Member, lady behind there. Please, the name, and give her the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
No, honestly, We need to be very fair, and that's what I've been doing this afternoon. Honorable member, you can see her behind the Zamzang, that one. And she was actually called out by the mover. Please give her the mic, or any mic around there. There's a mic that is now on your left. Please.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Nashukuru sana kwa mswada ambao umeletwa na ndugu yangu Honorable Kamala kuhusu walimu na kuhamisha walimu kiholela holela. Ni dhahiri kwamba walimu wamepata mitihani mikubwa, wengine wameshikwa na msongo wa mawazo kwa sababu kile wakihamishwa na kupeleka sehemu za mbali wakati wamejidhibiti sehemu moja, inakuwa kwao ni matatizo, kwa sababu hata mapeni pia wakati wanapata dharura nyumbani kwenda inakuwa ni mtihani. Kwa hiyo mimi napenda kumuunga ndugu yangu Kamala kwa mswada huu na kusema walimu wana haki, na TSC siwafanye kama mpira wa kona kuchengwa huku na huku na kuweza kuwasumbulia maisha yao. Kwa hivyo naunga mswada huu, walimu waweze kupewa nafasi ya kufanya kazi popote wanapotaka wao wenyewe. Asante sana.
Very well, time has run out. Or do we still have on Wambilianga?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. As I rise to support Honorable Hamala's motion, just to add in a new point that has not been added, I am a teacher and I have the experience. I know what the teachers go through. I want to advise TSC to look at their deployment policy such that instead of remunerating teachers who have qualified, they transfer and don't even replace. What happens is, instead of transferring teachers from primary to high school, or transferring teachers from high school to colleges, let them employ fresh teachers, because we have enough teachers who need to be employed. Again, I look at another point, and this one is on the young families. From Western Province, I repeat again, we have lost so many teachers who have suffered because of delocalization.
Yes, I think having exhausted the time for this particular motion and looking at the House, we shall defer the question to this motion until the next session or sitting of the House. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, recognition and remuneration of village elders.
Mover. Very well, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, yesterday I gave notice of motion that we have had village elders in every village in this country, and those village elders have been providing services to the people of Kenya. They have also been providing services, assisting chiefs, assisting assistant chiefs, and therefore working for the government. But despite them offering those services, they are not remunerated. And therefore, we gave notice of motion that we intend village elders to be recognized in law and that they be paid for the services that they render. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy that we are moving this motion this afternoon because in the morning we passed the nominees by the President for Cabinet Secretaries. We passed the nominees, and as you know, the President was elected on the platform of bottom-up policies. So as we pass the top echelon of government, it is also important for this House to consider a bottom-up approach, that we have passed the topmost, which is cabinet, and therefore the House needs to resolve that the bottommost, which is a village elder, equally needs to be recognized. Mr. Speaker, you would also realize that the motion that we are presenting is a motion that is in public interest. It is in public interest because we are elected in this House not because of ourselves, but because of the people that we represent. Village elders are ordinary Kenyans spread across the entire country. They are ordinary people who are wallowing in poverty. They are ordinary people who are solving and resolving disputes in many parts of the country. They are ordinary people who are helping the national government to execute its mandate as given under the Constitution, including security matters, and therefore need to be recognized and paid for the services that they offer. Mr. Speaker, in terms of the historical basis, this country, right from the days of colonialism and through successive governments, had a system of administration that we popularly called the provincial administration. Initially, it moved from sub-chiefs, chiefs, district officers, district commissioners, provincial commissioners, all the way to the president. During the clamor for multipartism and the clamor for constitutional change, there was mixed debate, and a lot of Kenyans felt the system needed to be restructured. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, under our Constitution of Kenya, Article 262, if you look at the 6th schedule on the transitional on consequential provisions that were put in the Constitution on how we transit from the former central government to the new government under the 2010 Constitution. At sub-article 17, the Constitution provides that within 5 years, Parliament was to enact a law so that law defines how that system of provincial administration was going to be enacted. Mr. Speaker, the law came earlier than 5 years. In 2013, pursuant to the provisions of Article 131 and Article 132 of the Constitution, basically on the roles of the President and the roles of the National Executive, Parliament enacted the law now popularly known as the National Government Coordination Act, Act number 1 of 2013. It is this act that has defined the several service delivery coordination systems of the national government. Mr. Speaker, you realize that the system of administration existed before the 2010 Constitution and still continues to exist. If you count from 2013 to where we are today, it's about 10 years. And despite the system existing for all these years, the rest of the officers, those in offices, the big bosses are paid, but those who do the real work where the rubber meets the road, the village elders are not paid. Mr. Speaker,
the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, you have started debating the motion, but you have not read the motion properly as per the order paper. So I would like to ask you to read the question, the motion as it is
Mr.
in
Speaker,
the order paper.
I stand guarded, Madam Speaker. Indeed, I had thought, as practice was in the course, that we give notice, we allude to the motion and we do not have to read. But now that I'm guided, I'll read through the motion. Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the guidance. The motion is on recognition and remuneration of village elders.
Order, Honorable Mutuse, you will start this way. I beg to move that the motion, then you proceed.
Madam Speaker, thank you.
Then you read as it is in the order paper. We appreciate that most of the new members are learning, so just take it slowly.
Yes, and we will do that. We will do that. We will do that. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, I beg to move the following motion on recognition and remuneration of village elders. that aware that there have been village elders in every village in the Republic of Kenya, and cognizant that the village is not formally recognized as an administrative unit in accordance with Section 14 of the National Government Coordination Act of 2013, and noting that despite the said village elders offering services to the public and the government, they are not remunerated contrary to Article 41 of the Constitution on fair labor practices, and further noting that in accordance with Section 14 and 15 of the National Government Coordination Act, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior and Coordination of National Administration, in consultation with the President and the Public Service Commission, have the power to establish national government administrative units and appoint administrative officers to serve under those units. And recalling that Article 10(2)(b) of the Constitution binds state organs and state officers to uphold human dignity, which dignity includes remuneration for work done, and noting that village elders have existed for many years and interact with wananchi at the lowest level, hence their recognition is in public interest, and that their remuneration has been long overdue. This House, therefore, resolves and urges the national government, through the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Administration, to 1. Establish all existing villages as administrative units of the national government in accordance with Section 14 of the National Government Coordination Act number 1 of 2013, and 2. Recruit and remunerate the existing village elders as administrative officers. Thank you, Madam Speaker. We hope now we may continue. And thank you for the guidance. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, our intention is to highlight so that members may understand, and we had started and we are concluding so that we may call the seconder to second the motion. So, Madam Speaker, I had explained where we have come from. I had explained why this is important, and I was at a point where I was reminding members that in the constituencies where all of us have been elected, indeed there are village elders, different names, wazee wa vijiji, and I know many of us, even in our own campaigns, part of the promises that we made was to urge the government of the day to remunerate them, because we know the hassles that they go through every day without a pay. And Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, it changed in between. Madam Speaker, we do this on the basis that the existing law at Section 14 gives the Cabinet Secretary for Interior a leeway to recognize administrative units and gazette them, and also, in consultation with the President and the Public Service Commission, recruit officers to work under those administrative. Indeed, Madam Speaker, under the law, the Ministry of Interior has created counties and appointed county commissioners as administrative officers under those units. They have also created sub-counties and appointed deputy county commissioners to work under those units. They have also created, under Section 15 of the National Government Coordination Act, divisions and created and appointed assistant county commissioners to work under those units. There are locations and chiefs who coordinate national government functions at that service delivery level. There are also sub-locations, and we have sub-chiefs who coordinate national government functions at that level. And therefore, it is imprudent that it has taken long for the national government to gazette using the powers under Section 14 of the National Government Coordination Act, the village as an administrative unit, and therefore pave way for the recruitment of village elders and their remuneration. Madam Speaker, our motion is also premised on the provisions of our Constitution. Under Article 41 of our Constitution, every citizen of this country is entitled to be remunerated for the work that they do. Madam Speaker, also under Article 10 of the Constitution on national values, which national values are binding to all state officers, and the Cabinet Secretary for Interior is a state officer. It is a requirement and a mandatory requirement that citizens are accorded their necessary dignity. Village elders are citizens of this country. The Cabinet Secretary is a state officer and therefore is obligated under Article 41 to cause the remuneration of village elders so that they are accorded the dignity that the Constitution demands for them. Madam Speaker, this country, as it is today, has 47 counties. We have about 369 districts, sub-counties, so to speak. We have about 369 sub-counties, sorry, about 978 divisions, 3,960 locations, and about 9,000 sub-locations. Assuming, because there is no data available as to the number of villages, because they are yet to be recognized as an administrative unit, that each sub-location has about 6 to 10 villages, we'll therefore be talking of a maximum of about 90,000 villages. And if we recruited the real hustlers, the real bottom-up, one officer to serve under each village, Madam Speaker, it is my submission that this country can afford. It is my submission that if this country can plug holes so that money that is lost is wasted in public offices, money that is lost through corruption can be used to pay these officers so that government services reach the people and those who are providing those services are paid for them. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I want to urge members that it is in the interest of the people of Kenya, it is in the best interest of this House, and it is in the best interest of this country that village elders are paid. I have checked, and in our neighboring countries like Tanzania, the equivalent of village elders are being remunerated through a system of allowances. The same is also happening in other weaker economies than ours. Mr. Speaker, as a fundamental rights issue, like I have put it before, it is entirely wrong for somebody to work without being paid. Some of these people get called for all manner of grievances by the community, even in the middle of the night. Somebody's home has been invaded by thieves. It is the village elder who will be called to inform the OCS. They do not have airtime. Madam Speaker, because of not being remunerated, they have devised a system at the local level where people who are reporting and people who are seeking their services oftenly are asked to pay something for those services. Madam Speaker, that is corruption at the lowest level. And the way of arresting that corruption is for this House to resolve that these people be formally recognized and they be paid. I am aware that in the last Parliament, this matter was debated by both houses, the Senate. It was also brought to the National Assembly. And to date, because of impunity, the national government has never implemented the reports of this House. As a result, even as we debate this motion, Madam Speaker, I have written to the Speaker proposing a legislative proposal to amend Section 14 and 15 of the National Government Coordination Act to anchor village elders within the law so that it is no longer a matter for the sitting regime, it is not a matter of benevolence, it is a matter of the dictates of the law moving into the future. And for those reasons, I urge members to support this motion. This House cannot legislate in vain. We believe that the regime in power, being a regime that campaigned on the platform of bottom-up, will realize that the most bottom-up civil servant is the village elder, and therefore the village elder be remunerated in accordance with the labor laws and regulations set out by the Public Service Commission. And with those remarks, Madam Speaker, may I now call the member for Bumula, my good friend Jack Wanami Wamboka, to second the motion. And before he does so, Madam Speaker, there has been a lot of interest in this motion. I recognize my friend, the member for Keio, Mr. Kimaiyo. I recognize my friend, the member for Aldai, Marianne Keitan, the member for Manyata, the Honorable Mukunji, former PC, the member for Sotik.
Order, Honorable Mutuse. You do not have authority to give a list of those who are going to speak.
No, and they are not speaking.
But you can call upon...
No, they are not going. I was not talking. They are not going to speak. It's their contribution. It is the contributions that they also helped in shaping the motion. It is important to recognize people you have worked with. And I don't think that is beside the rules, because I have worked with them in developing this motion. So,
Honorable Mutuse, you'll have a chance to do all that, because the House will give you an opportunity to reply.
Thank you.
So then you'll be able to mention all these colleagues that you have been working with.
Thank you very much.
So now we would like you to move, and then you call upon the seconder to second.
Thank you very much. We now call upon the Honorable Jack Wanami Wamboka, member for Bumula, to second. I beg to move.
The Honorable Mutuse, you know, this being a House of Records, I will request you to say, now you beg to move, and you call upon the person you have identified to second.
Yes, and I have said that. I beg to move, and I now call upon the member for Bumula to second. And I can say it again if you so wish.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for this opportunity. I think our good clerks are keeping our good speaker very busy, that she didn't follow through what Honorable Mwengi Mutuse was saying. I beg to second this motion on recognition and remuneration of village elders. Madam Speaker, we are aware village elders are salaried officials of the national administration who, through serving voluntarily, command significant influence within their territories and sit in most of these public boards. They are the lowest unit of administration, Madam Speaker. These are the people who suffer most. These are the people who work without offices. These are the people who promote peace and good coexistence among neighbors in the villages for free. These are people who solve even domestic rows, conflicts, domestic conflicts. A husband and a wife are fighting in the village, they'll call upon the village elder to go and solve those issues. These are the people basically who are main teachers of this society. Madam Speaker, we are aware that with all this that they do, they're the most vulnerable. These people don't have even medical schemes. And I think for all of us as members of this House, these are the people who, some of the people who played very crucial roles. In my case, Madam Speaker, it was easy for me to be a member of parliament because I had a very good rapport with village elders. They're the people who know every corner of every village of every region. So I want to
appeal to members of this House that we come together and support this bill, this motion, Madam Speaker, and ensure that at the end of the day, these people have a smile on their face. Madam Speaker, I want to applaud the CS. Now, because we have approved, is going to be sworn in the CS of Interior. When he faced vetting, and he was asked about some of these pertinent issues that start from the bottom of the administration, and he recognized the Manyumba Kumi fellas and said that they are going to be earning an allowance of 500 shillings. These are the children of the village elders. We want to convince and propose to the CS, the incoming CS, that before he reaches to Manyumba Kumi, he must start by addressing these issues. And it's there in law, Madam Speaker. The National Government Coordination Act of 2013, Section 14, bestows power to CS, with the approval, of course, as my good friend, Honorable Wakili Mwengi Mutuse said, to establish any government delivery unit. And as such, we will be expecting such from the good CS. Let's support these guys. Let's stand with them. I also want to raise my reservations, Madam Speaker, because I'm aware that in the year 2008, the Honorable Omalwa, then Saboti MP, raised this motion, wanted to introduce amendments to the then Chiefs Act to create the offices of village elders and provide for requirements for appointment and remuneration. Up to now, nothing has been done. So I don't want to grow into the list of fears that we are debating this beautiful motion here, and it's going to rot and gather dust on the shelves of this parliament, or I don't know where in government, Madam Speaker. We must, as a house, have mechanisms of having the government to do things that this house passes, Madam Speaker. And I think it is also incumbent on you, on this house, on the chair of this house, to give direction in terms of how this will happen. Because we cannot continue debating very good motions, very good bills, but at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, nothing happens. So I'm optimistic that at the end of this, we are going to have our village elders at least have something for their families, have something to take care of medication of their families, have food on the table for their families, have even be able to pay fees for their own children. It is very discouraging that you have someone who works for you for very long hours and you don't remunerate them. And in the spirit of the clarion call for this government of bottom up, today we passed for them the topmost, the up. And now the bottom of all these scenarios are the village elders. So we expect our our president, the Honorable Ruto, to put this as part of their policy, so that they get down to the grassroots. Because today, if the Kenya Kwanza government wants to deliver, if they're talking of hustlers, who is going to help them identify hustlers? The village elders. If they're talking of mamambogas, who is going to help them identify mamambogas? The village elders. And on that note, we beseech them. We beseech the president, because he also needs support of this house, which we have no problem giving. We beseech him to look into the welfare of these people. Madam Speaker, I am a member of Parliament of Bumula because of these people. the likes of Chenjuli, of Talitia, the likes of Alfred Wekesa, my own village elder. It is because of such hardworking people who told me, if you go this direction, you'll make it. If you use this person, you'll make it. But this one is Amkora. Don't use this one. This one hosted your opponent yesterday and the other day. So, and I'm sure it's the case of all these members of this house. Let's support these guys. Let's support them. Let's support them. We want to ask all of you that we support these guys so that at the end of the day, we are all happy. I don't have much to say. Perhaps I need to seek guidance. I can donate. I want to donate, Madam Speaker. I want to donate. I want to know how many minutes I've remained with.
Honorable Member, you just conclude by saying that you second the motion.
Yeah, I know this. I know very many members have a lot of interest in this. Yeah, we are only dealing with one speaker, so you don't shout. You are honorable members. And on that note, Madam Speaker, I beg to second this beautiful motion by the Honorable Mwengi Mtuse, MP, OGW, Kibwezi West constituency. Asante wakili.
Thank you very much, proposer and seconder. Honorable members, I propose the question, which is that aware that there have been village elders in every village in the Republic of Kenya, cognizant that village is not formally recognized as an administrative unit in accordance with Section 14 of the National Government Coordination Act number 1 of 2013. Noting that despite the said village elders offering services to the public and the government, they are not remunerated contrary to Article 41 of the Constitution on fair labor practices. Further, noting that in accordance with Section 14 and 15 of the National Government Coordination Act number 1 of 2013, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Interior and Coordination of National Government, in consultation with the President and the Public Service Commission, have the power to establish national government administrative units and appoint administrative officers to serve under those units. Recalling that Article 10(2)(b) of the Constitution binds state organs and state officers to uphold human dignity, which includes remuneration for work done, noting that village elders have existed for many years and interact with wananchi at the lowest level, hence their recognition in public is in public interest, and their remuneration has been long overdue. This House therefore urges the national government through the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Administration to 1, establish all existing villages as administrative units in accordance with Section 14 of the National Government Coordination Act number 1 of 2013, and 2, recruit and remunerate the existing village elders as administrative officers. Honorable members, I intend to follow the list, and the first one on the list, honorable members, is the Honorable Moses Kirima, Imenti Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this very important motion. First and foremost, I supported the same motion. But before that, may I give thanks to the Almighty God for giving me a chance to be in this parliament for the second time, because I've never had a chance to speak in despite of attending and placing my card now and then. Secondly, I thank the people of Central Imenti for electing me, but breaking a record for 30 years, for electing an MP twice, subsequent to each term. Then I congratulate you, Madam Speaker, for being in the Speaker's panel, which is a wish of many of us, which we wanted. But thanks that you are giving that opportunity to serve these honorable members. My contribution to this motion, Madam Speaker, is that as it has been said by the mover, village elders or the area managers are very important when it comes to the administrative unit. Sincerely, they offer services which cannot be consummated with anything other than adhering to what the mover has planned this house to pass, so that at least we can appreciate the work which they do, because these village elders, as they are referred, they work even more than policemen. They are the ones who inform the chiefs and assistant chiefs of the happenings in the villages. They restore order. These village elders, they leave their daily work so that they can go to serve the public. Even if it is not purely because there is no marked boundaries of the villages and there is no criteria of how to pick the villages so that they can be identified for the enumeration as it is required in the point of whereby a specific job as a definition and specification of what one is supposed to do. These are people of all jungle, of all terrains. They do everything. They litigate among the villagers. They do civil work in nature. They also do criminal work in nature, and they make sure that the village is at peace. They are very important people. Only that when we are passing this motion, we must, in one way or the other, somehow define the kind of things they are going to do, as it is the policy of the Asoran government, that we should not involve administrators in politics, like what I have heard from the seconder of this motion, that these are the people who are really campaigning for him and then giving him direction of how to win and who is who and who is who in the village. That's not the case. If they are coming for that one, it means that this motion cannot succeed. Let them come clean, and when they come clean, they are going to serve everybody. They will be neutral when serving everybody. They will not be one-sided, and they will not be favoring a specific candidate. And I believe with that one, they are going to be of value to this nation. That small unit in the village, that small unit in which they serve. If you come across these people, they leave very early in the morning, sometimes even they are called at night to go and see a dispute between an husband and a wife. And sincerely, even their security is not guaranteed. Some of them have even been cut with the pangas, or they have been trapped on the road to be beaten by criminals when they are going to solve these problems. Sincerely, the village elders are very important to us. They should not be dismissed. And we should not even demean their work, because they have been giving this sacrifice since 1963, from the time when Kenya attained independence. They have been contributing and they have been doing this work without compensation. This is the time that we should remember them. I therefore, Madam Speaker, believe that we should come up and see to it that the moment this motion is passed, we are going to pursue it and see that the committee of delegated registration is going to implement it to the letter, so that at least we will not be doing all these things in vain, taking into account that there are a number of motions which have been passed in this parliament, and it has never seen the light of the day. I therefore support the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The next person in the list is the Honorable Marianne Keitani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I stand to support this motion of remuneration of the village elders. Village elders, since their appointment, I think in about 2014, have never been remunerated. Yet, any government official that is appointed to serve in government needs to be remunerated. The kind of work and the kind of services that these village elders do in our communities is numerous. We've had, like, for example, they deal with any matter from dealing with matters of domestic issues about a husband and wife, about children, to any issue that happens in our community. And the whole administration system, from the chiefs upwards, depend on any information or information given to them by the village elders for them to report about the village or about the happenings in a village. They are the ones who know all the happenings in the village. For example, the 568 village elders in my constituency, for example, will be able to tell me and tell the administration the issues that have happened in that constituency or in that particular location or in that particular village where they serve. So it is important that they be remunerated for the work they do. Currently, their remuneration is based on payments from the people who, or the warring parties that they deal with, and whoever pays the piper calls the tune. So if we have two warring parties and one of them pays and the other doesn't, of course the village elder will tend towards giving service or tend towards assisting the person who has paid. So we need an independent person who is government to be able to pay for these services of theirs. Secondly, they also need to be given uniforms. They need to be recognized by being given uniform, because we know that from our public service, anybody who is uniformed is given the respect that that uniform carries. A policeman, for example, will be given that respect because they wear the police uniform over and above, of course, that they keep. The chief will be respected because they wear uniforms. So we also need to, as much as we remunerate them, let's give them uniforms and let's give them a place where they can practice or where they can do their work. They currently do them at the comfort of their homes. And many of them, they come from humble backgrounds. So calling two people to come to a humble background where maybe there may not be chairs is also not fair. So it's nice that they be given a space and an office where they can operate. And most of the functions that they do, or rather almost all functions they do, is to keep law and order. We know that our courts today have created what they call quasi-courts or small courts, which deal with cases that do not exceed about 1 million shillings. But these people save a lot of government time and government resources, because most of these courts will not handle a lot of the issues that the village elders would have handled within their villages. So I support this motion, and I would recommend that the National Government Coordination Act recognizes these particular village elders in the act and ensures that it entrenches this service, and especially by recognizing villages as administrative units. I support this motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Peter Kihungi, member for Kangema.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Mine is to support the motion on consideration of village elders. Madam Speaker, the village elders are an asset to our society, because mostly, even whenever the assistant chiefs are on leave, even though they are assistant chiefs who act on their behalf, mostly the village elders are the ones who take the major responsibility on issues to do with the surveys, and also dealing with issues of maybe crises that may be occur in the village. Madam Speaker, I happened to visit Rwanda, and Rwanda, who took our sample of performance contract, which was introduced by former President Mwai Kibaki. The person who was in charge of a performance contract in Rwanda is a Kenyan, and he was telling us that the president of Rwanda, whenever he signs a performance contract from the administrative section, the lowest section that they sign a performance contract is village level, whereby the village elders sign a performance contract on issues to do with the cleanliness and issues to do with the management of the public security. And therefore, that's why Rwanda is one of the cleanest city. That is Kigali. Therefore, Madam Speaker, whenever we introduce another level from the National Government Coordination Act, and we recognize the village elders, and Madam Speaker, they are remunerated, these people will be responsible, and also they will not be forced now to force our old moms and fathers, whenever they have an issue they want them to adjudicate, that they are told to cater or to see how they will be able to cater for their sitting. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this is a very good motion, and this is something the government should look on. And I think we are behind the county government, because if you look at County Government Act Section 55, you find they have clearly put the structures up to the village council, and also they have said that the county assembly will come up with the remuneration for the village councils. Therefore, in the level of the national government, whereby the development goes up to sub-location level, Madam Speaker, is not too expensive for our locals. Whenever now we have elders who live with our people daily, who are remunerated, who can be able even to sign a code of conduct, also on how they should perform their duties and how they should relate with our people. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I support the motion, and I wish, as we have put it, that can be legislated to become a law so that we can be able to consider them and they can be able to be effective to our people. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Hussein Waitani, Mandera East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this golden opportunity. Village elders are a very important component of our society. They really play a vital role in the society. Though not recognized before, they play very great roles in solving most of the problems that affect our society. If it were not them, I'm sure our judiciary could not have handled the number of cases that are there. They could have been overwhelmed by the number of cases that are there. But these people have been helping our administrative units, the assistant chiefs, the chiefs, and the DOs, and all others in solving the problems, especially where I come from, in Mandera. Most of the problems are solved by these village elders. They work in a very hardship area, very hard situations. Unfortunately, they have not been remunerated before. We want now this great parliament to pass this motion so that they can easily be remunerated and paid just like all other leaders in the locational and sublocational level. Once that is done, I can assure you the workload in our judiciary, the number of cases that are lying now in the judiciary, maybe for years and years, will be minimized, and we will have quality judiciary in this country. If there are around 90,000 sublocations in this country, if we have around 3 village elders in every sublocation, that is around 270,000. If you give them maybe a remuneration of 20 to 25,000, that is not much. That is minimal, extremely minimal, compared to the work they do. I therefore request our honorable members to support this motion so that this can be entrenched in our constitution and these people are given their rightful share in this country. These village elders solve very, very high-level cases. Sometimes they risk their life, you know. Once you are solving problems, high-level cases, of course, one will be happy and the other one will be, not happy. As a result, you might have problems. And some of them are killed. Some suffer. That way, they have no pension, they have no salaries, they have no health care benefits. That way, I think we need to change that situation and give them remuneration so that they can be motivated and even play more vital role in the society. In the recent past, our villages have been increasing day in, day out. Unfortunately, the government does not move very fast in turning these villages into sub-locations. These are the people that really support the government in handling cases in the village level. Unfortunately, they were not recognized. From now onwards, after we pass this motion, we want the government to recognize these people, give them their rightful remuneration, and they now be part of our public administration. With those few remarks, I support the motion.
The Honorable Phyllis Barto, member for Moiben.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this motion. I want to support this motion of remunerating the village elders. This is because they play a very critical role in society, and their pay should be anchored in the Constitution. According to the Article 41 of the Constitution on labor laws, when you contract the services of anyone, you must be able to pay for the service which you get. The village elders play a lot in the community as volunteers. They volunteer in so many ways, and they are the most misused members of our societies. They participate in all community activities in relation to governance.
We have an intervention from the member Bisau Kakai. What is out of order? Please let the member be given the mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just request for your indulgence and your guidance. Do we really have a quorum? Because I understand this is a very important motion, but looking around, I don't think we have sufficient quorum. Kindly guide us, Madam Speaker.
Okay, let the clerk and the sergeant at arms confirm the number that we have in the house. So, honorable members, we do not have the requisite quorum. I request that the bell is rung for 10 minutes.
We would do that. This is not, it is a motion. We know you usually debate even with 3 members in the House.
So, honorable members, it is important that you be informed that when the quorum bell is being rung, you are not allowed to go out.
They can come in. Yeah. Wako hapa hivi. Huyu wasitoke. Don't allow. By the way, they are coming. What is her name? You can do it for the 40. Changalai. Mtu mmoja ndo amesema. Kuna mangapi? Tambaji bado kusaumu. Kwa sisi bado tunafunga saa moja. Nani walisema hivyo? Ndipo tu nilikuwa nazungumza maneno gani? Mimi ndio nasema. Ni mgeni ama ni mtazamaji?
Tuko tumetosha nyumba. Kuna wengine watatu wako huko.
Ndio hiyo. Nitakuwa 40. So we are 40. That is Rebecca. Yes. Where is Rose? Simfanye hivi.
Clerk, so what happens if we don't get quorum?
There is quorum.
There is quorum? No, if we don't get...
Honorable members, we now have requisite quorum, so we will proceed. And the Honorable Barto, you may proceed.
That one, the next one. The next one.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was contributing on the remuneration of the village elders. My name is Phyllis Barto, MP Moiben. And I started by saying that the remuneration of the village elders should be anchored in law according to the Constitution, Article 14 on labor laws. If you contract the services of anybody or if you get service from anyone, you are supposed to compensate for the services provided. I also say that the village elders are the most misused members of the society. They are they volunteer all their services at every point in society. They sit in many public committees to resolve disputes even before they get to the other administrative units like the chief. They enforce health interventions, for example, immunizations, just like the case of COVID, which ravaged the society. The village elders were very active in mobilizing, in sensitizing the members of the communities that they go get the immunization. They register deaths, they register births, children who are born, those who die. They are the unit of analysis in society. That is where everything begins. Everything in society starts with the village elder. And yet, these people don't get any compensation. They don't get even a cent. Just like one of the honorable members have said earlier that he who pays the piper calls the tune. That is, they are at the mercy of those people who see and maybe give them something small. Madam Speaker, a few weeks ago when I was in my constituency, I met some village elders and they were requesting that at least they be given uniform so that they can get recognition in society. They sit in situations, in communities when the bursaries are being given by national government, county governments, yet they are not considered. Madam Speaker, if these members of the society are not recognized and are not paid, it is going to, they are very vulnerable and they are human beings. They have to meet their needs. They have to take their children to school. They have medical issues. They volunteer in all these duties and assignments. Yet, at the end of the day, they go home empty-handed. Madam Speaker, it is a high time that we consider, as members of parliament, we legislate this issue.
Your time is up, Honorable Member. The Honorable Irene Mayaka, nominated member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also stand to support the motion on remuneration of our village elders and recognition of the same by my good friend, the Honorable Muduse. Madam Speaker, when it comes to recognition of these village elders, first of all, I'd just like to say that we do know that most of the time they have acted as voluntary public servants. And also they're the people who are at the tail end of the grassroots level and are able to reach out to our people. Madam Speaker, the reason why I support this motion is because, number one, as Africans, we know there is something that we call the black tax. Black tax is something that, yes, most people who are able to earn a living and have an income do not mind supporting the people back in the village or the people who live in the urban settings that are not able to sustain themselves. But at the same time, we live in an environment right now that has a lot of issues in terms of cost of living. And therefore, this particular black tax cannot be consistent. It cannot also help the people back at home for you to be able to ensure that they have a sustainable livelihood. Madam Speaker, most of our village elders have been the people who are one of the beneficiaries of the black tax. But if you are able to actually ensure that they're properly remunerated, one of the things that it enables us to be able to do is that they then become independent. Because, Madam Speaker, there's an honorable member who mentioned that sometimes you find that we have situations where village elders have been known to be inclined to support the person who tends to support them, the person who tends to give them handouts, instead of being fair to everyone. But if they're in a situation where they're able to be remunerated and recognized, then they're able to do their work in a much better space. Madam Speaker, the other thing also that we are very cognizant of is that our elders are the people who suffer the most from medical conditions because of their age. So if they're able to get a remuneration, and I'd also like to encourage that in addition to this, that they're actually able to get health insurance, because most of the insurance facilities that we have do not support people who are above the age of 65. So if they're able to also get this, then it makes them also be more productive to the society. Madam Speaker, in the Devolution Act of 2013, there was an attempt by county governments to actually institutionalize the village elders and put them into council situations. But the problem with this and the attempts by various county assemblies to actually make this become something that actually works is because of the budget constraints that they do have. And therefore, Madam Speaker, I do support this because when we are able to do this at the national level, then it trickles down in a proper manner, the remuneration is done in a proper way, and also the budget implication, and I do hope that they do get to come to this house, will be done in a proper way. Madam Speaker, our village elders have been able to be very supportive in terms of dispute resolutions. They've been able to help in mobilizing, especially where there is need for decision making to be done. And Madam Speaker, in line with Article number 118 and 132 of our Constitution that supports public participation, one of the other things why I really support this is because most of the time we've found ourselves in situations where policies are made without proper public participation. We just finished discussing a motion on the localization of schools, and one of the issues that really affected that was the fact that there was no proper public participation. Madam Speaker, these are institutions that we can actually use to put in place and ensure that public participation is done by the villagers who are able to understand the real issues affecting people right at the grassroots level.
who are people who will tell you what situations and what issues that people have in different households. Therefore, I submit my remarks and do support the motion. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Baringo County, Florence Jematia. Absent? Okay. The Honorable Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Hey, it has been a long day, and thank you for staying put and listening to some of us, because sometimes we think our voices are not valid. I support this motion strongly, a million times, because the village elders from where I come from are called the ligurus, and they know each household, each home. And if there is any term that can be well defined as bottom up, then we have to start with the village elders when it comes to governance, because they exercise true servant leadership or stewardship, because anything that the chief wants to know or the assistant chief wants to know, they go to the village elders, because these village elders have intelligence. And actually, without the village elders, the chiefs or even the government would not run properly. Because when there is insecurity, we have a thief, a rapist, they know who they are, whose son he is, and so forth. So I just looked at this motion and my heart was already clapping. I hope the minister who's been put in that area they should know that we need a budget for the ligurus or village elders, so that they can also be given their rights, because you cannot be working 24/7. These people do not have time off. Anything can happen in the village at midnight, and they are up to go and do that without any gadget, without any help, no salary. It is difficult to run anything with such kind of environment. Then also, they are very influential because they have limited education, but their word is very strong there. Actually, they are a true example of somebody who can lead and influence, give way, give direction without papers. Now I understand why some people lead, but they have no degrees. People have been suffocating, buying papers, degrees, and yet we have pure good example of such leaders in the village. They shape community. And I really, really beg that we should not use our own people or eat our own people by using them, risking their lives. Because if a rapist or a murderer knows that it is this who took my name there, these people are at risk. So it is just good to also put something, a small percentage in the budget in our country for the village elders across our nation. And it's also good to give them uniforms, because I see them looking like just anybody. You can easily slap a village elder because they are not in proper uniform. Uniform has symbol. It symbolizes authority, or it simply tells somebody where they belong. So if we have all the uniforms that were taken away from the administration police, because I see them with blue, where did the other color go? If they can start with that to give the village elders. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Mathioya, Edwin Geshoki.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I rise first to fully support this motion for the village elders to be given something. Madam Speaker, without repeating what most of my colleagues have said, maybe I would want to outline the role of the village elders, especially in my constituency. One is they help in arresting petty offenders, they help in solving family disputes, sorting land boundary issues. They also help in fighting illicit drugs and alcohol, especially in our area of Mount Kenya, where this illicit alcohol has really destroyed our families. They also help in promoting education They also help in promoting health, security, and conflict resolution. Madam Speaker, you know, these village elders are very important, but it is very vital to ensure that there is a salary scale to guide what they will be paid. And also there should be a proper job description of what the village elder should have before they are recruited. This will help in solving most of the issues. Madam Speaker, my chiefs and my assistant chiefs in Madhyoya and the DCC and the ACC, they told me not to leave this house before I support this motion. Because what is happening, Madam Speaker, is every time they have a meeting with these village elders, and now there is no allowances and there are no salaries, they are forced to chip in from their pockets and try and get something for these village elders. These village elders have played a very important role. We saw it, though they were misused during the campaigns. We know the former government, the Jubilee, through the office of the president, they used to give money to try and influence the outcome of the elections. So if they are properly remunerated, we know very well that it will be a job that will be desired by many, especially when our people, when they are getting old. And these small allowances that they will be getting, it will be helping them even in the mobility when they are responding maybe to an issue there in the constituency. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Zam, member for Mombasa County.
Asante sana, Madam Speaker. Napenda kuchukua fursa hii kwanza kuwashukuru ndugu zangu wa Mombasa kwa fursa ambayo wamenipa kuwakilisha katika bunge hili. Niwahakikishie kuwa nitafanya kazi kwa uadilifu. Na niweze pia kuambia, manake kuna tashwishi sana kule mashinani kuwa hatujafikisha pesa za ngafu. Nataka niwaambie bado ngafu haijapitishwa kama vile CDF. Kwa hiyo hata mkiona wabunge wenu, vumilieni, msiwapige mawe wabunge kwa sababu pesa bado hawajapata. Natumai pia wabunge walioko hapa wana shida kama hizi. Ningependa kuweza kuunga mkono mjadala huu wa wazee wa mitaa. Wazee wa mitaa wamejitolelea sana kwa maisha yao na wamepata changamoto sana. Ukiangalia zile kesi za watu ambao wanapigana kule, mama na baba ni wao. Ukiangalia kesi za watoto kupotea ni mzee wa mitaa. Ukiangalia kesi sijui za watu wahalifu, majambazi, ni wazee wa mitaa ndio wanaweza kutambua. Wanafanya kazi hata zaidi ya polisi. Na mimi ningependa kueleza serikali kuwa itakuwa ni makosa kuwatumia wazee hawa kufanya kazi kule mitaani, na wao wanalipa ushuru, ni watu ambao kila kitu pia wananunua na huku hawapati mishahara. Ningependa kuomba serikali ichukue kilio cha wazee wa mitaa, waweze kuwekwa kwenye nafasi ya kulipwa kama watu wengine wanavyofanywa, machifu na mapolisi, ili hawa pia waweze kunufaika pamoja na familia zao. Tunawahitaji sana wazee wa mitaa kwa habari tendeti, tunawahitaji kwa kuweza kusuluhisha matatizo mengi kule mtaani na kule mashinani. Kwa hiyo mimi ninajua pia wao mpaka sasa vile hawana malipo yoyote. Wengi utapata hata hali zao za kiafya ziko mbaya, manake mzee wa mtaa licha kuwa anafanyia serikali kazi, lakini anashindwa hata kulipa pesa NHIF kuweza kujisaidia. Ni hatia, na mimi naona ni aibu sana kwa serikali kutumia wananchi na wazee kama wale kufanya huduma kule mtaani kwa sababu ya serikali, na ili hali wanaachwa bure. Ni wakati mwafaka umefika, wazee wa mtaa waekwe akilini, waweze kupewa nao hata kama ni mshahara japo kidogo, lakini wajue kuwa mara hii wamekumbukwa na serikali. Sina mengi ya kusema kwa sababu muda unasi, na support mjadala huu, naunga mkono. Kutoka Mombasa County ni Mama Zamzam Chimba Muhammad. Asanteni sana, na asanti sana Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Asante.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The Honorable Member for Samburu East, Jackson Leku Montare.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. for giving me this time, chance. Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to thank the people of Samburu East for giving me this second chance to serve them in this 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, about the motion that we are discussing, these village elders are very important and they help in administration in those small units. And Madam Speaker, I know in some counties, the county government are giving some allowances to the village elders. And I think where the problem is the village elders under the chiefs or assistant chiefs. Because those under the village admins are well taken care of in some counties. And Madam Speaker, these people need to be given some allowances for their motivation of the work they are doing. You see, when you are maybe giving service and you are not even given something, they feel not motivated. And I think, Madam Speaker, the government, the national government, they are well in terms of finances more than the county government. And sometimes it is embarrassing when these people are doing their work, but nobody is taking care of them. Even when they have those meetings, they are not even given something small for their lunches. And I think, Madam Speaker, the national government should come up and try to give some allowances. Nowadays they are trying in chiefs because they have something small. They are calling airtime or something for the assistant chiefs and the chiefs. But it is not good when they have meetings, they share meetings together with the chiefs, and some of them are given something, and the village elders are not really taken care of. So if it is, Madam Speaker, okay, we will pursue this until these elders are being considered for the services they are giving to our people.
Honorable member, time is up, honorable members. The motion has a balance of 1 hour, 40 minutes. The member who was speaking right now will have a balance of about 5 minutes. Honorable members, the time being 7 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Thursday, 27th of October, 2022, 2:30 p.m.
past and the present. What happened a little before independence, what his predecessors achieved up to the time of took over. And it was convincing. Sometimes I was struggling in my mind, wondering what we have been hearing, especially from those who don't want him, saying that in his second term, he has not done anything. The president proved those people wrong. And I'm sure if they don't accept that they were wrong by making a statement that in the second term of the president, he did not do much, if they still have that opinion, today I'm sure they have changed their minds if they have read the newspapers. For the much he has done. I do recognize that he has operated in his second term under a very difficult situation. The pandemic was there, fighting whatever he was trying to do and what he had done. People were suffering, but still recorded that kind of achievement that he narrated to us. I congratulate him on that, and also the political side, especially his statement of the BBI. He mentioned those who missed the opportunity, but he also comforted them with a statement that we may have that BBI so that that opportunity doesn't go. Honestly, 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling was a big opportunity for those who rejected BBI. I'm sure if BBI comes back, they will support it wholeheartedly, because that is really the beginning of fairness to everybody in this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
Very well. And now let me have the member from Ronnie, Reboyo Nyango, to make his contribution.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to add my voice on top of what others have espoused about a very, very good speech, which I had an opportunity to listen to. And I must take this opportunity to commend His Excellency for giving us very rational speech, something that covered almost all the aspects of our life in this country. I want to compare it to his very bold speech that he gave during Madaraka Day. The president came up very well. He covered his tenure by articulating very well how they started, the challenges that has benefited their tenure, and the achievements that he has made. From his speech, it came out very clearly that he has made a lot of headway since he conceived and executed this so-called handshake, because the economy has spurred, the country remained calm, and everything went on all right. He talked about education, and it is true. The president, his tenure, has done everything to make sure that education is pushed forward, because in the interest of today and the future generations. He talked about the health facilities, and he espoused what steps his government has taken in making sure and driving the agenda of free health for everybody forward. And we were very happy with the achievement that has been recorded so far, and more so the last 2 years. He talked about agriculture. I want to dwell here because it's very dear to my heart. He talked about agriculture and mentioned what the gains that have been registered in the tea industry and the other agricultural sectors. And when it came to the sugar industry, he talked about the consideration that he gave during the Madaraka Day to the sugarcane farmers. I want to thank him seriously for having come up with this incentive. But I also want to say that I had an opportunity to visit him at State House when I took girls from a school of mine to go and take a bus, the bus that he gave out of his heart. And I want to thank him once more. And during this occasion, I had an opportunity to put a petition to him And one of the issues I articulated was if my two sugar industries could be injected with some little funds to keep them driving, to keep the smoke billowing until where his grand program of leasing will take over. This was done. I want to thank him seriously. But unfortunately, as we are discussing, as I'm talking the floor of this house, the farmers have not got that consideration. And my worry is also that the consideration was about 1.5 billion. And while we have several